Most developers build simple apps to learn a new technology or a new framework. But today, you're about to build a production SaaS that tracks the stock market in real time, with live charts, analyst recommendations, a personalized dashboard, authentication, a database, and a search experience that works from anywhere in the app. And you're going to do it faster than you think is possible. Not because we're cutting corners, but because you're going to learn how to use AI the right way. Hi, I'm Noor, and this is Programming Fluency. There are thousands of tutorials on YouTube, but most of them do one of two things. They either build something so simple it teaches you nothing you couldn't figure out yourself, or they hand you a finished codebase and walk you through it line by line, pretending that's the same as actually building something. This course is neither of those. We're building a real app, one with a real database, real authentication, real API integrations, real error handling, and a real deployment. The kind of app you could actually put in front of users tomorrow. And we're building it the way modern developers actually build things, with AI as a core part of the workflow, not as a shortcut we hide from you, as a genuine, practical skill that will change how fast and how confidently you can ship software. By the end of this course, you won't just have an application, you will have a workflow. Okay, what are we going to build exactly? We're building StockHub, a financial tracker SaaS where users can sign up with email or Google and land on a personal dashboard. See the market at a glance, S&P 500, Nasdaq, Dow Jones, live ticker tape, and much, much more. They can also search for any stock by ticker or company name from anywhere in the app. Users can also view a dedicated page for any stock with a professional chart, technical analysis, analyst ratings, company info, and the latest news. They can also save their favorite stocks and get a personalized view every time they log in. They can read market news that's relevant to what they actually care about. This is not a mockup. This is not a fake dataset. This is a live, deployed, production application pulling real market data in real time. And here is everything we're using. And yes, every single one of these is a real-world production choice, not a tutorial simplification. We're gonna use Next.js 16 with the app router, TypeScript, Tailwind CSS version 4, React 19, Shadcyan UI, Better Auth for authentication, PrismaPostgres as our relational database, Finnhub API for live market data, quotes, news, analyst recommendations, and company profiles, TradingView widgets for the same charts used by professional trading platforms, React hook form and Zod for production-grade form validation, and the tool that ties all of this together is Claude Code, which is Anthropic's AI coding agent running directly in the terminal, and this is what we are going to use to build this app. And learning how to use it effectively is one of the most valuable things you will take away from this course. You will learn how to build a full-stack SaaS from scratch. That means the database schema, the authentication flow, server actions, API integrations, client and server components, loading states, error boundaries, dynamic routing, all of it. But more importantly, you learn how to build with AI. And I want to be specific about what that means, because this is where most people get it wrong. Using AI to build software is not about typing a prompt and pasting wherever it comes out. That's how you end up with code you don't understand, bugs you can't debug, and a project you can't maintain. What you're going to learn in this course is different. You're going to learn how to write prompts that actually work. We'll show you how to give Claude Code the right context, the constraints, the architecture, the rules, so what it generates fits into your project and doesn't need to be thrown away. Review AI-generated code like a senior developer. Every piece of code Claude writes, we read, we understand it, then we check whether it follows our patterns, whether it handles errors correctly, whether it's doing what we actually asked. You won't be a passive passenger in this process. Manage an AI-assisted code base. We'll show you how to structure your project files, your prompts, and your workflow so that Claude always has the context it needs, and so that you stay in control of the direction of the project. Know when to let AI drive and when to take the wheel yourself. There are moments in this course where Claude generates something perfect on the first try, and there are moments where we push back, refine the output, or fix something it got wrong. You'll see both. That's real. The goal is not to show you a magic trick. The goal is to teach you a skill, one that will make you a faster, more capable developer for the rest of your career. If you've been waiting for a project that's actually worth building, this is it. If you've been curious about AI-assisted development but didn't know where to start, this is where you start. If you want to finish this course with something deployed, something real, something you're genuinely proud of, stick around and let's build something amazing together. Before we start building anything, I always like to begin by understanding the business goals behind the project. Because at the end of the day, we're not just writing code, right? We're building a real product with real features, real users, and a clear purpose. So before we jump into development, let's quickly go through the vision and goals of this application. I created a document for the business goals of StockHub. You can find this document in the GitHub repository. And of course, you can find the link for the GitHub repository in the description of this video. This is an internal planning document written before development began. Okay, we're gonna start by why we are building this application. Retail investing has exploded over the last few years. And if you don't understand what retail investing is, it's everyday people investing their own money as opposed to banks or hedge funds. Meaning that those are the people investing their own money by themselves. They're not handing it to a financial advisor or anything like that. So as we were saying, over the last few years, more people than ever are buying stocks, watching the market, and trying to stay informed. But the tools available to them are either overwhelming, tools like Bloomberg or TradingView Pro, or too shallow to be actually useful, like random finance apps that just show a number and a color. And this is the gap we are willing to fill. Casual investors, people who have a brokerage account, check their portfolio a few times a week, follow a handful of companies, don't need a trading terminal. They need something that feels approachable, loads fast, and gives them the information they actually need, they actually care about, without making them feel like they need a finance degree to use it. And StockHub is going to be that product. It's gonna be the product that's going to fill in that gap. So, who we are building this app for? The target user is someone who invests but doesn't do it professionally, as we already said. They have a regular job. They check their stocks before work or during lunch, right? They follow a handful of companies they care about, maybe because they work in that industry, maybe because they use the product, or maybe just because they like the company. They want to know, is the market up or down today? How are my stocks doing? And is there any news I should know about? That's it. They're not day trading. They're not running algorithms. They just want to stay informed without having to open 5 different tabs. And we're also gonna have a secondary target users, which are more active retail investors. People who want chart analysis, analyst ratings, technical indicators. but who still don't want to pay hundreds of dollars a month for a professional platform. StockHub should serve them too, without alienating the casual user. Okay, what problem are we solving here? We're gonna solve basically three problems. Problem number one is that information is scattered. To get a full picture of a stock you care about, you currently have to check one site for the price, another for news, another one for analyst ratings, and another for charts. StockHub will bring all of that into one place for free with a clean interface. And problem number two is existing free tools look like they were built in 2009, right? Yahoo Finance, Google Finance, they work, but they are cluttered, ad heavy, and not designed with the user in mind. There is no reason a financial tracker has to feel that outdated. And problem number three is no personalization without paying, meaning that most platforms gate the watch list or favorites feature behind a subscription. We think that's backwards. The core experience, tracking the stocks you care about, should be free and built in from day one. Okay, what success should look like for us, for this business? We have a short-term success, medium-term success, and a long-term success. For the short term, it's gonna be the first 3 months after launch. Users can sign up, add their favorite stocks, and get a useful snapshot of the market every day. The app is fast, reliable, and doesn't embarrass us on mobile. At least a few people use it daily without us asking them to. For the medium term, it's gonna be from month number 3 to month number 12. At this point, we should have a small but growing user base of people who actually find it useful. We understand which parts of the product they use most: dashboard, individual stock pages, news, etc. And by now we should have a clear picture of what a paid tier could look like without breaking the free experience. And for the long term, which is gonna start after 1 year from launch, we aim at this point to make StockHub becomes a go-to tool for retail investors who don't want to pay for platforms like Bloomberg. We should start monetizing the app by introducing a paid plan with features like price alerts, portfolio tracking, and expanded data. And at this point, the business should be kind of sustainable, revenue covers costs, and grows slowly and predictably. And those are going to be the core features for launch: account creation and login, a dashboard for the users. It should show the overall market state, stock search, which will allow users to search for their favorite stocks, individual stock pages, which is going to be a dedicated page for each stock showing the price, professional chart, technical analysis, analyst recommendations, company information, and recent news specific to that company, all in one place. A favorites feature, which will allow users to add their favorite stocks to their favorites and then view them inside the favorites page. And finally, we're gonna need to create a market news feature, which is gonna be integrated into the dashboard and individual stock pages. Our aim here is not to provide generic financial news, but actually provide news that are relevant to what the user is looking at. Okay, what we are not building. This is very important. We want to know what this app is not, what we are not actually building. We need to identify that before diving into code. This is not a trading application. And this is not a real-time streaming prices application. We're not gonna use WebSockets or anything like that. And this is not a crypto-first experience. This is about the stock market. And we're not gonna build mobile apps. This is going to be a web app that's fully responsive, so it works well on a phone browser on iOS and Android. But it's not gonna be an iOS or Android application. Maybe later in the future, if you wanna monetize this app and grow it even better, maybe you can use something like React Native to build iOS and Android apps for this application. And by the way, React Native is a very powerful framework. And if you want to see me build React Native applications here on this channel, just tell me in the comments below. We're also not going to build social features, meaning that no following other investors, no sharing portfolios. We're just gonna keep it simple. And for the monetization, we haven't fully committed to a pricing model yet, but the direction is clear. The core product stays free, and free means users can sign up, save stocks, use the dashboard, and get real value without paying anything. That's how we grow. And a paid tier comes later and adds things like price alerts, portfolio tracking, extended historical data, and possibly an API for power users. We're gonna figure out the exact pricing when we have enough users to understand what they would actually pay for. Charging too early with the wrong features is worse than waiting. Risks and honest concerns, data costs, user retention, competition, and scope creep. And this document, of course, is a living reference. It should be updated as we learn more from real users. You should do that. If you intend to make this a real SaaS, you should always update this document and always refer to it. The goals here aren't set in stone, they are a stake in the ground, so we don't lose track of why we started. And that's it. This is actually the business goals of our application, the business goals of StockHub. And you should always start your SaaS applications by identifying your business goals. And now, let's move on to our next step. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Before writing a single line of code, or even before writing a single prompt sentence for AI, I want to talk about why we should start with a design prototype, and why this step matters far more than most people think. You see, when you have an idea in your head, it feels clear, right? But the moment you start building, that clarity disappears. You begin to ask questions like, where does this button go? What happens after this page? How does a user move from here to there? A simple prototype answers all of that before you touch code. And when I say design, I don't mean something fancy. This doesn't need to be a polished Figma file, a beautiful UI, or a designer level mockup. A rough sketch on paper or a few boxes drawn in a whiteboard app is more than enough. The goal here is to just get a visual idea of what you're going to build. And this prototype becomes your guide. Every time you're unsure about a feature, a route, or a component, you go back to that design and ask, does this belong here? Is this part of the flow? And that's how you avoid scope creep. That's how you keep your project small, focused, and intentional, especially when building a real product or working with AI. Design gives you boundaries. It helps you explain what you want, what you don't want, and what done actually looks like. Without it, you're just reacting while coding. With it, you're making decisions on purpose. So think of the prototype as a map, not artwork. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be clear. And once you have that clarity, everything else, like architecture, database, user interface, and even AI prompts becomes dramatically easier. And that's why we're gonna start here. Now let's take a look at the design we have made for StockHub app. First of all, we're gonna need to create a landing page for the application. This is the first thing the user will see. So when a user opens StockHub for the first time ever, they should see that landing page. Here on the top, we're gonna render a ticker tape displaying some information for the most famous and popular stocks, like here Meta, Nvidia, Tesla, and so on. And then we're gonna split that page into two sides, a left side and a right side. On the left side, we're gonna render the logo of our application here. Then here, we're gonna display some slogan text, some branding for our application. And then here, we're gonna display some charts or screenshots from StockHub, like this one. And then on the right-hand side, we're gonna display a sign-in form. We're gonna display an input for the email, then another one for the password, and then two buttons here, one for signing in, and another one if the user wants to sign in with Google, they can click on that button and sign in using their Google account. And here we're gonna display something like don't have an account, sign up. And if the user actually don't have an account and wants to create one, they can click here and it should take him to that page, which is the sign up page. And that page will look pretty much like the sign in page. But instead here we're gonna render a sign up form. We're gonna input the user full name, email, password, and so on. And here also we're gonna display two buttons, one for signing in and another one for signing in with Google. And then after the user creates an account or login, they are going to land on their dashboard page. And here on the dashboard page, we're gonna render a nav bar at the top here, displaying the logo and then the nav links, dashboard, search, and favorites. And then here, we're gonna render a user dropdown displaying user info and a logout button in order to allow the user to log out when they want. And here we're gonna render also a ticker tape. And here we want to render three cards like that for the three main indices, S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, and Dow Jones Index. And here we want to render or display a user favorites section, and here a discover stocks section to allow the user to discover stocks. And here we want to render a section for the market news, the whole market news, okay? And of course here when the user clicks on the search button, we should open a search modal or something like that, which will allow the user to search for their favorite stocks. And then we want to create a favorites page. This is going to be a personalized page. Of course, here in the dashboard page, we're gonna allow the users here to add stocks to favorites. See that star icon? When the user clicks on that icon, it should add that stock to their favorites. Then, after that, when the user adds some stocks to their favorites, they can go to the favorites page here, which will display also a nav bar and a ticker tape. And then this is the favorites page. It's gonna have its own search bar here. And then those are the saved favorites, the stocks that the user added to their favorites. And then here we want to render a dedicated news section for the user's favorites. See here, exactly like that. And then here we want to display some analyst recommendations also for the user's favorites. And by the way, that ticker tape is going to be only for the user's favorites, not a general ticker tape, okay? And by the way, here also in the dashboard page, I'm gonna add an analyst section, okay? I didn't add it here in the prototype, but let's say here I'm going to add analyst section. It's gonna be here, okay? Or maybe I'm gonna change my mind, put it somewhere else later, I don't know, but for now, I intend to put it in that area. And finally, we're gonna have the single stock page. This is the page where we're gonna display all the information about a single stock. Like here, for example, this is the NVIDIA stock. We're gonna display everything about it like that. We're gonna add an add to favorite button or icon here in order to allow the user to add it to their favorites. And then here we're gonna add a technical short like that, then technical analysis, then some company info, and also an analyst recommendation here, and a news section for that single stock here. Like here, for example, we're having a bunch of news about NVIDIA here. And that's it. This is going to be our Stock Hub application. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, this is going to be the tech stack that we're going to use in order to bring that application to life. We're gonna use Claude Code, Next.js 16, TypeScript, Tailwind, React and ChatCN, Better Auth for authentication, PrismaPostgres as our relational database, and Finnhub API for the live market data, codes, news, and so on. And we're gonna use TradingView widgets for technical shorts and stuff like that. And actually, it's gonna give us shorts used by professional trading platforms. And finally, we're gonna use React hook form and Zod for production grade form validation. And that is it. This is our Stock Hub project. Now let's go ahead and actually build this amazing application. Before building any SaaS project, I always like to start from GitHub first. So the first thing we're gonna do is to create a GitHub repository, then connect it to a local repository on our machine. And this gives us proper version control from day one and keeps the project organized as it grows. After that, we're gonna create our Next.js application, which will be the full stack framework powering Stock Hub. And one of the reasons I love using Next.js is that it comes with everything we need out of the box. React for the user interface, TypeScript for type safety, Tailwind CSS for styling, and a modern full-stack developer experience that makes building SaaS applications much faster and cleaner. So, as we said, first of all, we're gonna create a new repository. So I need you to go to your GitHub account, and if you don't have a GitHub account, you have to create one. After all, you can be a developer and don't have a GitHub account. So, after you create an account, click here on the plus icon and choose New Repository. And let's name our repository Stock Hub App. Or let's just name it Stock Hub, leave the description blank, and then I'm gonna change the visibility to private for now until we finish recording the project. And then we're gonna need to create a new repository locally on our machine, which will allow us to create our project from scratch. So let's head to our desktop and create a new folder, and let's name it also Stock Hub. And then open your IDE. I'm gonna use Visual Studio Code for this course, but you're free to use whatever IDE you're comfortable with. So I'm gonna open a VS Code new window and then open that folder using Visual Studio Code. And then inside Visual Studio Code, I need you to open your terminal. From here, choose a new terminal. And then we're gonna need to link that GitHub repository to our local repository. And this is why we're gonna need to copy all of these commands and paste them inside our terminal. And this is going to initialize a new Git project locally on our machine. Then it's gonna add a README file then it's gonna create a first commit or commit a first commit. We're gonna provide a commit message saying first commit, and then we're gonna change the name of the master branch to main, and then that command specifically is the command that's going to link that GitHub repository to our local repository. And finally, we're gonna push the changes from our local repository to the GitHub repository, which is the remote repository. So let's just copy all of these commands and simply let's paste all of them here inside our terminal, then press enter. And sometimes it's gonna ask you to sign in with your browser, so just click here, and there we go, authentication succeeded. And that's it, the two repos are now linked together. If we go back here and reload that page, you can see our repo here with the new readme.md file. So let me go back here, and for now I'm gonna delete that readme file, and actually let's delete also this folder. Now we have a clean project. I'm gonna open the terminal one more time, then clear my terminal, and then as we said, we're gonna need to install Next.js, the React framework for the web. Just head over to the Next.js website. I'm gonna leave the link in the description of this video, and then click on Get Started, and then choose Installation, and here choose npm, and then let's copy that command npx create next app at latest, which is gonna make sure that we get the latest Next.js version, and of course for now it's Next.js 16. So I'm gonna copy that, and I'm gonna go back to my terminal and paste that command, but I'm gonna write here period, because I want to install that project here inside the existing directory, inside that stock hub directory, okay? And this is why I'm writing a period here. And then I'm gonna add a flag saying yes by typing dash dash yes, which is gonna answer yes to all of the questions. Because normally when you install Next.js, it asks you several questions, like if you wanna install TypeScript, if you wanna install Tailwind CSS. So I'm gonna save us some time and say yes to all of these questions. So I'm gonna press enter. Oh, it's telling me that the name of the folder can't contain capital letters. So alright, no worries. I'm gonna rename this to stock hub in just small letters. And then I'm gonna open VS Code again, then open the folder again using VS Code, and then let's type that command again and press enter. Oh, we should delete that dist folder again, okay. Now let's type the command one more time, and now it's being installed. Yeah, there we go here. And as you can see, it's installing dependencies, Next, React, React DOM, Tailwind CSS, Post CSS, TypeScript, Tailwind CSS itself, and bunch of other dependencies. And now the project is all set up and Next.js is installed. As you can see here, success created Stock Hub project. Very nice. Now let's explore the project. Here inside the app, you can see our page, our layout, and globals.css files. Of course, that globals.css file will include all of our global styles. And here, this is the favicon. Let me delete it because we're gonna create our own favicon. And also here, let's delete all of the files inside the public folder. There we go. And as you can see, since we are living in the era of AI now, it added two extra files, agents.md and claude.md. But more on that later. Now let's write anything inside our page file, our home page of the app. Let's delete all of that and simply return an h1 element saying stock hub app, and let's remove that. Now let's save, then open the terminal, and let's simply start the development server. So I'm gonna say npm run dev and then press enter. Now our app is running on localhost 3000. Let's open it. There we go. This is our application here, Stock Hub app. And now let's open the terminal one more time. And then let's push the latest changes to GitHub. So I'm gonna say git add all, and then git commit message. Let's say installing Next.js and setting up our project. Press enter. And finally, we're gonna type git push to push the changes to GitHub. Press enter. There we go. Now if I go back here to my GitHub repository, then reload the page, you can see everything is added here to our GitHub repository. Of course, as I told you before, you can find the link for this GitHub repo in the description of this video. And now, let's move on to our next step. Before we start building projects with AI, we need to talk about how to actually talk to AI. Writing effective prompts is one of the most important skills you can develop as a developer working with tools like Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini. The difference between a bad prompt and a good prompt is often the difference between fighting the AI for 20 minutes while burning your tokens or getting exactly what you need in one response. And you should know that what I'm about to share next is inspired by an article published on Claude's official blog, and I will leave the link for it in the description of this video. At its core, prompt engineering is just clear communication. AI models don't read your mind. They respond to exactly what you tell them, how you tell them, and the context you give to them. If your prompt is vague, the output will be vague. If your prompt is clear, specific, and intentional, the output becomes dramatically better. Let's start with the most important rule. Be explicit. A lot of developers write prompts like, fix this bug or improve this code. The problem is that fix and improve mean different things to different people, right? Instead, you should say exactly what you want. For example, refactor this function to improve readability, remove duplicated logic, and keep the same behavior. Now the AI knows what better actually means. The second key is context. AI gives better answers when it understands why you're asking something. Imagine you say something like, don't use bullet points. That's a rule, but it's unclear. Now compare it to something like, I prefer natural paragraphs because I'm recording a video and bullet points feel too formal. That context helps the AI make better decisions beyond just that one instruction. And this actually matters a lot in real development work. For example, if you're building a SaaS app and you ask, design a database schema, you'll probably get something generic, right? But if you say, this is a small SaaS app, I want no more than 5 models optimized for simplicity and maintainability, the output becomes far more aligned with your actual goal. Another powerful habit is being specific about constraints. As developers, we deal with constraints all the time. Frameworks, libraries, performance, deadlines, and your prompts should reflect that. So instead of saying build an upload system, you can say design a file upload flow using Next.js app router uploading and Prisma, following best practices and keeping it minimal. Constraints don't limit the AI, they actually guide it. And sometimes the easiest way to explain what you want is to show an example. And this is incredibly useful when you care about format or style. For example, if you want summaries in a very specific format, show one example summary and say, now do the same for this input. AI models are very good at pattern matching when the pattern is clear. Another simple but powerful technique is being clear about the role you want the AI to take. Instead of asking a generic question, tell the AI from which perspective it should think. For example, you might say, act as a senior software engineer, or think like a product designer, or write this as a technical educator. And this will help the model frame its response in the right direction from the start. As developers, we do this all the time in real life. We wouldn't ask a junior engineer and a staff engineer the same question and expect the same answer, right? The same idea applies here. Specifying the role sets the level of depth, tone, and decision-making style you want. And that said, you don't need to overdo it. A simple role description is usually enough. The goal isn't to over-constrain the AI, but to give it the right lens so its output matches your expectations. And one underrated but extremely important technique is giving the AI permission to say, I don't know. Without this, models may guess or even hallucinate. A simple sentence like, if the information is missing or unclear, say you don't know instead of guessing. A simple sentence like that can massively improve reliability, especially when working with APIs, security, or architecture decisions. And as tasks become more complex, you'll notice that one giant prompt doesn't always work. And this is where breaking things into steps helps. For example, instead of asking, analyze this code base and refactor it, you can do it in stages. First, ask the AI to summarize the code. Then ask it to identify problems. Then ask it to refactor one part at a time. And this mirrors how we think as developers, and it produces more accurate results. Another common issue developers run into is formatting. If you don't want explanations, say so. If you want JSON, say so. And if you want no preamble, say so. For example, return only valid JSON, no explanations, and no markdown. Remember, clarity beats politeness every time. The big mistake most people make is thinking prompt engineering is about clever tricks. Well, it's not. It's about clarity, intent, and structure. You don't need advanced techniques for most tasks. If you're struggling, it's usually because the prompt is unclear, not because the model is weak. One important thing to understand is that you don't have to get the perfect results from the first prompt. In fact, most of the time you won't, and that's completely normal. Writing effective prompts is an iterative process. You give an initial prompt, review the response, then follow up with adjustments. And you might ask the AI to improve clarity, change the tone, add missing details, or refine a specific part. That back and forth is part of the workflow. So you need to have the right mindset. Be patient. Be prepared to put in some effort. Just like writing code, you rarely get everything right on the first try, right? You refactor, tweak, and improve until you reach the result you want. And this is very important to remember. AI is not magic. It's an extremely powerful tool, but only if you know how to use it properly. The better you are at guiding it, correcting it, and fine-tuning your prompts, the better the output you'll get in the end. Think of AI as a smart collaborator. You still need to lead the conversation, tweak the inputs, and shape the final result. So, to wrap all of this up, you can think of almost every effective prompt as having 4 core parts. First is the role, who you want the AI to be. For example, a senior software engineer, a product designer, or a technical writer. Second is the context, what you are working on. why it exists, and how the output will be used. Third is the output, what you actually want back. That could be code, an explanation, a review, a refactor, or a specific format. And fourth are the constraints, the rules, things like the tech stack, file limits, style preferences, best practices to follow, or things to explicitly avoid. If you clearly communicate these four pieces, role, context, output, and constraints, you'll get dramatically better results with fewer iterations. You don't need long or complicated prompts, you just need complete ones. Finally, remember this. The best prompt is not the longest prompt. It's the shortest prompt that reliably gets you the result you want. Prompt engineering is a skill. You'll get better by practicing it while building real projects, which is exactly what we usually do in this channel, Programming Fluency. Over time, writing good prompts will feel just like writing good code, intentional, structured, and focused on outcomes. Imagine having a senior engineer sitting next to you 24/7, reviewing your code, suggesting improvements, helping you debug, and accelerating your development speed. That's exactly what modern AI coding agents are becoming. The software development world is changing fast. Today, being a great software engineer is no longer just about writing every single line of code yourself. It's about knowing how to work with AI agents effectively. We're becoming more like orchestrators. Our job is to guide the AI, manage it, review its output, and make sure it produces the best possible product. The better we communicate with it, the more powerful we become. And right now, Claude Code is without a doubt one of the best AI coding agents in the industry. It's incredibly strong at reasoning, understanding context, and helping you move faster without sacrificing quality. So, in this tutorial, I'll teach you everything about Claude Code. I'll show you how to install it on your device, integrate it into any software project you're building, and start using it as your superpower AI agent. And now let's see how can we install Claude Code on our device. First of all, I need you to go to the Claude Code official website. You can find the link in the description of this video, or you can simply open Google and search for Claude Code, and then go to this website, and it will take you to Claude Code website. Then I need you to click on documentation here. As you can see here, this is a Claude Code overview. Claude Code is an agentic coding tool that reads your code base, edit files, run commands, and integrate within your development tools. And in order to get started, you have many options. As you can see, you have multiple options here, but in this tutorial, we're gonna cover the terminal and the VS Code options. So let's start with the terminal. If you're working on Mac OS or Linux, you can copy that command and paste it inside your native terminal. And if you're working on Windows like me, you have two options. You can use Windows PowerShell or Windows Command Prompt. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna use PowerShell. So I'm gonna copy that command and then open an app named Terminal inside of Windows and open Windows PowerShell from it. Of course, you can open PowerShell right away. It doesn't matter, okay? Just open any PowerShell terminal. And then paste that command here and simply press enter. And I think this is going to take some time, so while it's being installed, I need you to create a new account on Claude Code. So just go here and click on Try Claude, and then create an account. It's a very simple registration process. So actually I'm gonna continue with my Google account. And right now I'm logged in using my Google account. So after you log in, you're gonna be redirected to this page. As you can see, this is the user interface of Claude's web application. It's similar to ChatGPT. I'm of course assuming you are familiar with ChatGPT and used it before, and you can chat with it from here, you can ask it anything you want, and you can choose the models from here. They have several models like Sonnet, Opus, Haiku, and so on. And from here you can upgrade your plan. And you should know that in order to be able to use Claude Code, you have to have a subscription plan. You have to subscribe to any of the plans, okay? There is no free plan in Claude Code. So I think the Pro plan is suitable for you if you're just testing Claude Code for the first time. And then you can go to your settings and track your usage from here. You're gonna have current session, which is gonna reset each 4 hours, I think. And also you're gonna have weekly limits, which is gonna reset each week. And from here, this is the extra usage. If you ever buy extra credit or extra usage, you can track your usage from here, okay? And now let's go back to our terminal, and as you can see, Claude Code successfully installed. Right now, if I type this in my terminal, Claude, you can see that the Claude command is recognized by our system because Claude Code has been installed on our device. But actually, I'm gonna close that terminal and I'm gonna go to my desktop and create a new folder. And let's name it Claude Code. And then I'm gonna open VS Code. I'm gonna open a new window and then open that folder using VS Code. And then what I'm gonna do here is that I'm going to use the VS Code integrated terminal. So I'm gonna click here, go to terminal and choose a new terminal. Close all of that. And there we go. I'm having a PowerShell terminal here inside VS Code. And again, I can type Claude here, press enter. There we go. This is the Claude interface. You can choose your text style from here. I'm gonna choose dark mode. And then, as I told you, Claude Code doesn't have a free plan. You should have a subscription plan. You should be subscribed to a paid plan. So this is why Claude Code will prompt you to log into your account. You can choose any of these options: Claude account with subscription, Pro, Max, Team, or Enterprise, whatever you have. You can log in using Anthropic console account or third-party platform. But in that case, I'm gonna choose Claude account with subscription because this is what I have. I'm gonna press enter. It's gonna open a browser window like that. And then simply, it's gonna ask me, Claude Code would like to connect to your Claude chat account. Do I authorize? Yes, of course. I'm gonna click on authorize. There we go. Right now, I'm logged in with my Claude account. So I'm gonna get back here to VS Code terminal. And as you can see, login successful. Press enter to continue. So I'm gonna press enter. It's gonna tell me Claude can make mistakes. You should always review Claude's responses. Okay. Press enter to continue. Yes, use recommended settings. Then it's gonna ask me, do I trust this folder? I'm gonna say yes. And there we go, Claude Code now is ready to use. I think it installed the VS Code extension for me. I wanted to do that by myself, but more on that later. Now I'm gonna press enter to continue. And simply right now I can ask Claude Code to do anything for me. For example, let's tell it to build a simple to-do app for me using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript with a nice UI UX. And that's it. Now I'm gonna press enter and see magic happens. Now Claude Code is doing its thing. Okay, great. Now it created a todo.html file, and this is the code it wants to create. You should read that code carefully, but we're just providing an example here. And actually, it's gonna give you several options here. It's gonna ask you, do you wanna accept these changes right away? You can say yes to accept, but in that case, you're just accepting that change. Or you can say yes and allow all edits during this session. Choosing that option will allow Claude Code to continue editing without asking you, okay? And of course, you can say no and reject those changes. So I'm just gonna say yes and allow all edits during this session. And there we go. The To-Do app is ready at todo.html file. Just open it in your browser. Here is what it includes, and those are the features, add tasks, and so on. And those are the UI highlights. Okay, now let's open this file. Of course, it created that file here. And by the way, this is the icon for Claude Code extension. As I told you, apparently it installed the extension for us. But for now, let's open this using our web browser. I'm gonna reveal in File Explorer and then open that file using the browser. And this is our To-Do app. I think it looks nice, right? Let's add any task. Let's say learn Claude Code. Then click on Add Task. The task is added here. Those are all the tasks, active tasks, completed tasks. Okay, this actually looks nice. And this is pretty much it. You can ask Claude Code anything you want. And you should know that Claude Code has many modes. Like here, when we choose to accept all edits, it did toggle the accept edits. If I click on Shift plus Tab all together, it's gonna switch to plan mode. If you choose the plan mode, Claude Code is gonna explain its plan to you before generating code. Okay, let's click on Shift and Tab again. It's gonna shift back to the first mode, which is the ask mode, where it's gonna ask you before doing a single edit. And now if you type /help, yeah, this one, and choose it, it's gonna show you a help menu. This is a general menu. This is the commands menu. And from here, you can choose to go to the docs. Let's see it. Okay, this is the documentation that we saw before. Let's click escape. And actually, if you want to switch between models, you can type /model and choose between models or toggle between models from here. The default one is Sonnet 4.6. You can choose Opus, Haiku, whatever you want. And also, if you want to have like a long-term memory for your project, you can type /init, and this will initialize a new claude.md file with codebase documentation. Let's choose it and see what's gonna happen. Okay, here, first of all, it's explaining to you that the repository contains only todo.html file, a single file, which contains vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is an app with no build system dependencies or tests. Okay, and then it wants to create a claude.md file, which is gonna have all the data about this app. This can act like a long-term memory for Claude. Claude can always refer to this file, this claude.md file, in order to get data about your project, in order to have extended memory about your project. So I'm gonna click yes, which is gonna create that file. See here, claude.md created. It documents the single file architecture, how to run the app, and so on. Now we can see it here. This is the file that we are talking about. If I right click on it and open preview, this is the preview for that MD file. Of course, you can edit this file. You can add anything you want. Let's say that you change the project architecture, the context, or anything like that. You can always go back here and write whatever you want. Okay? And also in Claude Code, you have features like agents. If you choose agents, this will allow you to create a new agent. Basically, you can create a sub-agent that has its own context window. custom system prompt and specific tools. Like you can create an agent that can act as a code reviewer, another agent that can act as a code simplifier, and so on. There is also something called MCP, which will allow you to manage MCP servers. Of course, right now, no MCP servers configured, but you can actually run some MCP servers, which will allow you to connect Google Drive, your Gmail account, and stuff like that. You can read all about it. You can also create something called skills, which will allow you to create skills files. Skills are something like, let's say, recipes to do something. Let's say you have your own way of creating something, or maybe reviewing code. So you write that way in a text file called skills, or actually a single skill file inside the skills folder, and Claude will always refer to that skill file and do a specific task based on that skill file. Of course, if you're interested, you can also read all about it, okay? And now let's see how can we install the VS Code extension. If we go back here and choose VS Code, you can see that you can install it for VS Code or for Cursor. I'm gonna click on VS Code. It will open VS Code for me, okay? And it took me to the extensions panel here. And actually here in the extensions, you can search for Claude Code right away and choose this one, which is the official Claude Code for VS Code from Anthropic company. Of course, it's already installed here. Now let's uninstall it and restart extensions, and this is the view that you should see. So simply click on install, and after it's installed, you're gonna see that icon appear here. Now let's reload our window and then click here on that icon. It's gonna open a Claude Code window inside VS Code like that. And actually I like using the extension. I like it better than the terminal one. So I'm gonna move it to a new window here. As you can see, it has a better user interface. And from here I can do pretty much everything that we did before. I can toggle between the modes from here, ask before edits, or edit automatically, or plan mode. Like for example, I can tell it to change the background color of this app. Press enter. Okay, what color would you like the background to be? The current one is dark. Okay, let's say make it a bit brownish. Anything actually. And here it's gonna show you the changes it wants to make. Here on the left hand side, this is the previous state of our code base for this file, and this is the code it wants to add. So what you should do is that you should read that code and decide whether you want to accept that code or not. So in that case, I'm gonna click here in order to accept it, and that's it. It wants to also update the hover. Okay, say yes. And right now it's done. If I go back here and reload the page, yeah, it changed the background color. And that's pretty much it. Also from here you can track your usage by saying account and usage. This is my usage so far. I can also switch models from here, and I can type account and choose switch account in order to log out. Then I can click here again in order to log back in. Then it's gonna open the browser tab again, ask me to authorize, so I'm gonna click authorize. Now I can go back here and I'm logged back in. And that's it. This is how you can install Claude Code and integrate it inside any software project you're building. And as you can see, Claude Code is so powerful, it can do miracles for you. Now that we have installed Claude Code, we're ready to start prompting. And before we begin, I want to introduce you to what I think is the most valuable asset in this entire course, which is the prompts folder. Inside this folder, I stored all the prompts we're going to use to build StockHub throughout the course. Of course, you can find this folder inside the GitHub repo. And I created all the prompts as markdown files so they're easy to read, edit, and reuse whenever you want. We're going to start by giving Claude a very clear senior level prompt that explains the project, the tech stack, and the rules it must follow. And this will be the foundation for everything we build next. It's called projectoverview.md. Just look up inside the GitHub repo for the prompts folder and then open that prompt. I'm gonna open preview from here. It's an MD file, as I told you. And now let's carefully read that prompt. First of all, as we already explained earlier, we're gonna give Claude Code a role. We're gonna tell it, you are a senior software engineer and expert in the Next.js stack. You bring production engineering standards to every decision, architecture, performance, security, and maintainability. Apply that expertise throughout this project. And for the StockHub project overview, I'm gonna tell Claude, I want to build StockHub, which is a production-grade financial tracker SaaS application that real people can use and that I can monetize. This is not a demo or a prototype. Every decision must be made with production quality, scalability, and user experience in mind. Do not generate any code or do any implementation yet. This is just a project overview. Read it, understand it, and wait for further instructions. StockHub is a hub for any investor who wants to stay up to date with the stock market, and the core user journey is the user should land on a friendly, well-designed landing page that clearly communicates the app's value and makes signing up feel effortless. Then create an account via email and password or Google OAuth. After that, they should arrive at the dashboard page, which is gonna show live market data, popular stocks, their personal favorites, and relevant news. And a user also can search for any stock by ticker or company name from anywhere in the app. And by the way, the ticker is the company symbol in the stock market, okay? Any user also can view a dedicated stock page with charts, price data, technical analysis, analyst recommendations, company info, and news. And they can also add and manage favorite stocks from a dedicated favorites page. And also the user should stay informed with a live ticker tape and market news feed. And this is the tech stack that we want to use. We're gonna tell Claude that this tech stack is strict. Do not suggest, recommend, or introduce any technology not listed here. And if you don't know how to do something with these technologies, simply say, I don't know. Do not guess, do not hallucinate APIs or methods. And then we're gonna provide the tech stack for Claude. You already know the tech stack. And this is going to be our architecture. This is going to be the route structure. Inside the Next.js app router, we're gonna have a route group for authentication. And that route group is going to include sign up and sign in routes. And then we're gonna have a main route group, which is gonna contain the main functionality of our application, which is gonna include all of these routes, dashboard, favorites, and stock pages. And then we're gonna have a route for the server. We're gonna put the server actions inside of it. Of course, you're gonna understand more about server actions throughout this course. And then we're gonna have all of these folders. Also, you're gonna understand all of that while we're building the application. And those are some key conventions. Server components by default only use client or client components when the component needs interactivity, browser APIs, or React hooks. server actions for all data mutations, and Finnhub API calls. Never call Finnhub from the client, and Finnhub API key must never be exposed to the browser. Actually, all of our API keys shouldn't be exposed to the browser. And by the way, this is a best practice that you should always follow as a developer. You should always put all of your secrets and all of your API keys inside an environment variables file. And this file is called .env file. And of course, you're gonna see all of that while we are building the application. Then we're gonna tell it to always use loading and error files inside each route folder, handling loading and error states. And actually, I'm gonna remove that because we might want to use suspense boundaries. I don't want to totally forbid it. I don't want to totally forbid Claude Code from using the suspense boundaries. So I'm gonna open the file and search here for suspense, yeah. And actually, I'm gonna remove that. Save, and then go back here. There we go. As we were saying, always use loading and error files inside each route folder. And by the way, this is a best practice in Next.js. You should always create these files inside each route while you're developing apps using Next.js, okay? And then we're gonna tell it revalidate path must be called after any mutation, like add or removing favorite, for example, to keep server rendered pages fresh. This function will technically refresh a route or a page after the user makes any change. Like as we said here, if a user adds or removes a stock from their favorite, we're gonna revalidate the path, the favorites path, in order to refresh the content, in order to refresh the data being displayed to the user, okay? Then we're gonna tell it that TradingView widgets are mounted via a custom hook at that destination. And that custom hook will handle script injection, cleanup, and a dataset.loaded guard to prevent duplicate mounts. And of course, we're gonna explore TradingView in detail later in the course. And Prisma client should be generated at this destination, and always run Prisma generate before the next build. And also, we're gonna understand Prisma and Prisma client in detail later in the course. And those are some rules. Always follow these rules. I'm telling Claude to always follow these rules. Always use chassis and UI components for every UI element. And never use raw button, for example, or raw input. You should always use chassis and buttons or inputs instead. Always add a cursor pointer to all interactive elements. Always wrap asynchronous operations in a try-catch blocks. Log errors with console.error. Through clean and user-friendly error messages. Use animate fade-in on all pages in order to make our application feel more alive. All stock symbols must be normalized to uppercase. And as we said before, never expose secrets. And if you don't know something, say, I don't know. Do not invent solutions. Those are going to be our environment variables. And here we are specifying to Claude Code what Stock Hub is not. It's not a trading platform, not a real-time WebSocket application, not a mobile app, and not a crypto-only app. And that's it. Now what we are going to do is that we're gonna open the Claude Code extension, and then let's move it to a new window. There we go. And now simply what I'm going to do is that I'm going to tell it read and execute prompt number 1, which is the overview prompts, and tell me what did you understand about this project. Now I'm gonna press enter. Okay, now it's giving me a response. It's telling me, here is what I understand about this project. StockHub project summary. What it is: a production-grade financial tracker SaaS web application for investors to monitor the stock market, not a demo, built to be monetized and used by real people. Okay, great. Core user journey, landing page, sign up, then dashboard, search for any stock, dedicated stock page, favorites management page, and a live ticker tape plus news feed. Okay? And this is the tech stack, strict, no substitutions. Okay, this is our tech stack. Very nice. And those are the rules. Okay. And this is what the app is not. Very, very nice. Now Claude Code has full context about our project. It understands deeply what we want to build, right? But are we done here? Actually, no. We want Claude Code to never lose context. You know that AI models have context window. So we don't want to ever lose context. So how are we going to do that? I'm gonna tell Claude, create a memory file for this project to never lose its context and also treat it as a progress file, so you can always go back to it and save our progress. Then press enter. Okay, see here, Claude is telling me I will read the existing memory, then create a comprehensive project memory. Then here it's asking me the permission to create a folder named memory inside the StockHub project folder, and then create a memory.md file inside of it. So I'm gonna allow Claude to do it by saying yes. And here it's telling me that no memory file exists yet, and it's gonna create the project memory file. And this is the project memory file. It looks like it's a very, very good file. It's a well-written file. So I'm gonna accept it. And this is a memory index file for the context and progress. So also I'm gonna accept it. There we go. Now memory is set up. And the file project stockhub.md contains full project context, a progress tracker, and a progress log. Every time we complete a phase, it's gonna update the status in that file and add a log entry. Now it's asking me, am I ready to move to prompt number 2? Actually, no, I want to do something else. Here, as you already noticed in the project overview prompt, I did ask for certain features to be done in certain ways, right? Like for example, I did ask for server components by default, server actions to be done in a certain way, to always create loading and error files, always use revalidate path, and so on. Okay, you get the idea. Those are kind of recipes to do certain stuff. I want to do certain features or certain stuff in a certain specific ways. And this is something in Claude Code called skills. So basically, what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to tell Claude, I want you to create some skill or some skills files that you can always refer to know how to do certain things in my own certain way, and extract those skills from the overview prompt. There we go. Now I'm gonna press enter. Now it's gonna read the overview prompt, and it created a to-do list for itself to create a skill file for UI components, another one for server actions and data fetching, then authentication and route protection, error handling, and TradingView widgets. Okay, so it wants to create these files inside the memory folder, but actually I don't want that. I'm gonna tell it that I want those skills files to be created in skills folder inside .claude folder. This is the right way to do it. So basically it's gonna create bunch of skills files inside the .claude skills folder. So here I'm gonna say yes, allow access to skills and edit automatically. And now it's finished. And as you can see, it did save the skills folder inside that folder. But this is not what I want. If you go here to Claude Code documentation, you can see first of all, it's telling you a bunch of stuff. I don't want to read all of that, but to get to the point, the skills folder should be saved inside your project. If you want to save skills related to your project, save it inside your project, inside a skills folder, inside a .claude directory. So here, if we go back to our project, we can see a .claude folder inside the stock hub directory. The skills folder should be placed here. And also for the memory, by the way, here it's telling you that you have two types of memory. One inside a claude.md file, which is instructions you write to give Claude persistent context, and auto memory, which is notes Claude writes itself based on your corrections and preferences. See here, this is a comparison between the two kinds of memories. For the claude.md files, who writes it? You write that file. And for the auto memory, Claude writes it. And here it's telling you to run /init to generate a starting claude.md file automatically. And here, if you scroll until the bottom, you can see that the memory file, the memory.md file, should be stored inside your C directory under .claude projects, and then the project name, and then the memory directory. So it shouldn't be stored inside our project. So what I'm gonna do first is that I'm going to run that init command in order to generate a claude.md file. Now it's exploring the current codebase structure before writing anything. And here it's creating that file inside our project, which is gonna include all the context about our project. Very nice, I'm gonna accept it. And here I'm gonna tell it that based on the Claude documentation, the memory file should be stored in the C directory, not inside our project. And then simply I'm gonna copy everything from this documentation, and then I'm going to paste it here. And then here I'm gonna ask it, why did you create the memory file inside our project directory? Press enter. It's telling me that I'm right. According to the docs, auto memory should live inside that directory, which is exactly where I created. And this is its path, not inside your project directory. Really? Let me double check. Do we have any memory files here? Well, yeah, actually it seems like Claude did it right. That was my mistake. It did create it in the right path here. So that was done in the right way. The only thing left here is that we need to move the skills folder to our project. So here, I'm gonna copy that and I'm gonna tell Claude, based on this documentation, we should store the skills folder inside our project directory. Then I'm gonna paste the documentation and press enter. It's telling me you are right, skills belong to .claude directory inside the project directory. And now it's telling me, let me move them there now. Okay, so I'm gonna allow it to do so. And now it's gonna delete the old skills folder from that directory. Now it's done. It's telling me that the skills are now correctly structured under stockhub.claude, then the skills folder. And we have all of these skills files, and the old .claude skills folder has been deleted. Now if you go to our project, you can see the skills folder has been added to the Claude folder. So right now we have a memory file to keep auto memory, to allow Claude to auto memorize our project context and progress, and we have a claude.md file. Those are the general rules for our project, and those are the skills folders and skills file, which will include recipes on how to do certain stuff. Like for example, here this is a recipe on how to implement the authentication feature. So right now we have done everything. We have given Claude an overview of what do we want to build, the skills, the memory, and the general rules. So right now, no room for mistakes, no room for AI slop, right? We are doing things the right way. Very, very nice. Now let's move on to our next feature. Alright then, now it's time to set up our database and authentication for StockHub. For the database, we're gonna be using PrismaPostgres, which is an amazing hosted PostgreSQL service that works perfectly with modern full-stack applications. I'm also partnering with Prisma for this course, so make sure to click the link in the description below in order to be able to follow along with me throughout the setup process. We'll also be using BetterAuth to handle authentication in our app, giving us a modern and flexible auth system for things like sign up, sign in, and session management. But let's start by setting up PrismaPostgres. As I told you, click on the link in the description below and it will take you to this page. Then create a new account by clicking here on login and then follow the registration process. It's a very simple registration process. You can create a new account using email and password, or you can simply log in using your GitHub account or your Google account. For me, I'm gonna use my Google account, and then after you log in, after you create a new account, you're gonna be redirected to your dashboard. So, what I need you to do is to click here and then create a new workspace. And let's name it StockHub Course. Then click on Create Workspace. And that's it. Right now, Stock Hub course workspace was created successfully. And this is all we're gonna need to do from here, from that web interface. Everything else will be implemented from our own terminal. But of course, in order to be able to do anything or implement anything the right way, you have to read its documentation. So go back to the Prisma website and click on Docs. And since we're working with Next.js and Better Auth at the same time, we're gonna read the documentation for Better Auth and Next.js with Prisma. So search here for Better Auth and then choose that option, Better Auth with Next.js. And now let's follow along with that documentation. See here, they're telling you that Better Auth is a modern open source authentication solution for web applications. It's built with TypeScript and provides a simple and extensible auth experience with support for multiple database adapters, including Prisma. And they are telling you that in this guide, you'll wire Better Auth into a brand new Next.js application and persist users in a PrismaPostgres database. Okay, step number 1 is to set up your project. And we actually already did that. We have created a Next.js project, right? Our Stock Hub project. So we're gonna skip that step and then jump into step number 2, which is set up Prisma. See here, they're saying next, you'll add Prisma to your project to manage your database. So first of all, we're gonna need to install the necessary Prisma packages and dependencies. So choose npm and copy that command, which is gonna install Prisma, tsx, add types /pg, and save all of them to development. So I'm gonna go back to my terminal and simply paste that command. And now these packages are installed. Let's go back here and copy that command, which is gonna install Prisma client, Prisma adapter pg, .env, and pg. Of course, that pg is a short for Postgres, okay? And let's paste that command here. Press enter. There we go. Those packages are installed as well. And then, once installed, initialize Prisma in your project. So we're gonna need to run that command. Okay, what does those commands do? Running those commands will create a Prisma directory inside your project with a schema.prisma file inside of it and a .env file. This is the file that's going to contain all of your environment variables, and it will add a local database URL inside of that file at the project root and an output directory for the generated Prisma client. When later you run the generation command, which is Prisma generate, it will generate the Prisma client inside that directory, the output directory. And then they are telling you to run that command to create a PrismaPostgres database and then replace the generated database URL in your .env file with the connection string that you're gonna get from your project, from the project you have created inside your dashboard. But actually, we're gonna do all of that in just one command line. Okay, how are we going to do that? Simply, I'm gonna copy that command line and then I'm gonna paste it here, but I'm gonna add here after the init, I'm gonna say --db. That --db flag will create a new project inside my dashboard from here, from inside my terminal. And then here, I'm gonna specify that I want the output or the output folder that's going to contain the generated Prisma client inside app/generated/Prisma. So replace that source with app, okay? And that's it. Right now, I'm just gonna press enter. And as you can see here, it's telling me that since I provided that dash dash db flag, this will create a project for me on console.prisma.io, which is my dashboard, and requires me to be authenticated. Then it's asking me, would you like to be authenticated? I'm gonna say yes, I'm gonna type Y and press enter, and now it's gonna open a browser tab for me, see here? And it's asking me to log in using my account. So I'm gonna log in back again using my Google account. And now it's asking me, do I wanna authorize API access? I'm gonna say authorize, but first I'm gonna choose the workspace that we just created, which is Stock Hub course, as I want that project to be created inside that workspace, okay? And right now, I'm gonna click on authorize. And that's it. Success. You may now close this page. So I'm gonna close it. And now it's gonna ask me some questions. Select your region. I'm gonna choose anything. Maybe I'm gonna choose Europe, Paris, as this I think is closer to me. I'm here in Egypt and this is Paris. I think this is closer to me. Enter project name. I'm gonna say Stock Hub. Press enter. And now it's creating the project. And it's telling me we created an initial schema.prisma file and a .env file with your database URL environment variable already set. Okay, let's check them out. First of all, as you can see here, a Prisma folder has been created and a schema.prisma file inside of it. Let's remove these comments. I don't want them. And this is the schema.prisma file. Okay. And let's check the .env file. Also remove all of that. And this is our database URL connection string. That string will be used to connect to our database. And if I go back here to my Prisma dashboard and go to our workspace, then go to projects, you can see our project is created here, the Stock Hub project. Very nice. Now let's go back to our documentation page. Then they are telling you to configure Prisma. They are telling you to create a prisma.config.ts file with these configurations. But I think that was automatically created for us. Let's actually search for that file. If you want to quickly search for any file inside your project, inside Visual Studio Code, click on Ctrl and P all together. It will open a menu like that. You can search for anything you want. In that case, I'm gonna search for Prisma. Yeah. And this is the Prisma config file. So yeah, this is the file they are talking about. It's already added. And then we want to generate the Prisma client. So we're gonna run that command, npx prisma generate. And I'm gonna go back to my terminal. First of all, clear the terminal. Then paste that command. And right now it generated Prisma client at this directory, app generated Prisma. See here, you can see app generated, and that generated has Prisma inside of it, and the client is inside of it. And then our next step is to set up a global Prisma client. So we're gonna create a lib folder and a file inside of it named prisma.ts. So I'm gonna create a lib folder here in the root directory. I'm gonna create a new folder and name it lib. And inside of it, I'm gonna create a new file and name it prisma.ts. And then set up the Prisma client like this. Simply copy and paste that code, and that file will export a Prisma client instance that we can use later to query our database, okay? So simply I'm gonna copy all of that code and I'm gonna paste it here. Here just add app / then app. Yeah. Now, as I told you, whenever we want to query our database, we're gonna import that Prisma instance from that file and then query our database. And then our next step is to set up better auth for authentication. As you can see here, Now it's time to integrate Better Auth for authentication. You can read that documentation if you want, but I like to follow the documentation of any technology itself. So here, since we are installing Better Auth, I like to read from the Better Auth documentation itself. So I'm gonna go to the website. I'm also gonna leave the link for it in the description below, and then click on Get Started, and then go to Installation. First of all, we're gonna need to copy and paste the installation command, npm install Better Auth. So let's go back to the terminal and paste that command. Alright, now Better Auth is installed. Then the next step is to set environment variables, create.env file, we already did that. And then generate a secret key, which is a secret value used for encryption and hashing. It must be at least 32 characters. Click the button below to generate one. You can also use that command to generate one. So first of all, let's copy that variable name and paste it inside the .env file, and then generate a secret. Then let's copy that secret and paste it here. Then the next step is to set a base URL. So we're gonna add this environment variable, Better Auth URL, and then add here the local host for now, or for the development server to work. And then later when we deploy our app, we're gonna use our actual domain name. So I'm gonna copy that and simply paste it here. And by the way, let me create here a .env.example file for you to use it as a reference to memorize what environment variables you should use for this project. So we're gonna say .env.example, and then I'm gonna copy all of these variables and paste them here without the values. Use this as a reminder, okay? This is the base URL of your app. Now save it. Let me just open the .get.ignore file and just ignore here the .env file, not everything starting with .env, okay? This way, the .env.example is not gonna be ignored when I push the project to GitHub. Then our next step is to create a Better Auth instance. Create a file named auth.ts in one of these locations, a lib folder or a utils folder. We're gonna use our lib folder. And then inside this file, import Better Auth and create your auth instance. And make sure to export the auth instance with the variable name auth or as a default export. See here, they are saying export const auth equals to that Better Auth instance, etc. So first of all, we're gonna create that file auth.ts inside our lib folder. So we're gonna go to the lib folder, create a new file, and name it auth.ts. And then let's copy that code and put it here. And then our next step is to configure our database. And since here we are talking about configuring our database, I'm gonna go back to the Prisma documentation and scroll down until you find that file, auth.ts. And this is how you can set up or configure PrismaPostgres with Better Auth. And here, we're gonna say email and password enabled true in order to allow the user to sign in and sign up using email and password. So actually, I'm gonna copy everything from here and I'm gonna paste it here inside the auth.ts file. And then we're gonna need to create database tables for our authentication. So we're gonna need to run that command npx auth at latest generate and then migrate those tables or those models. If you go back here to the Prisma documentation, you can see that they are saying the same thing. Add Better Auth models to your schema. Better Auth provides a CLI command to automatically add the necessary authentication models, which are user, session, account, and verification to your schema.prisma file. So simply add this command npx auth generate, and this will add the following models to the schema.prisma file inside our project: model user, model session, model account, and model verification. And all of that will be done using a very simple command like this. So copy that and simply paste it here inside your terminal. It's gonna need to install that package, so I'm gonna say yes. And by the way, when you're using npx to install a package, it will install it temporarily until it finishes what it wants to do, and then it's gonna uninstall it back. It's gonna remove it back again, okay? This is completely different from using npm. When you use npm to install a package, it's gonna persist inside your project. It's gonna exist permanently, okay? Okay, it's telling me that the schema.prisma file already exists. Do I wanna overwrite it? Okay, no worries, overwrite it. And now the schema was overwritten successfully. Now let's check it out. I'm gonna search for schema.prisma file, and those are our new models. A model for the user, another one for session, another one for account, and another one for verification. And then our next step is to migrate the database. With the new models in your schema, you're gonna need to update your database. Run a migration to create the corresponding tables. So I'm gonna copy that command, which is npx prisma migrate dev -- name, which is the name of that migration, and then we're gonna give it that name, add auth models. So I'm gonna paste that command here and press enter, and it did apply the migration, and your database is now in sync with your schema. Then our next step is to regenerate the Prisma client, okay? So we're gonna run that command again, npx prisma generate. I'm gonna paste it here, press enter, and now the Prisma client is generated again. Now if we run npx prisma studio, it will open our database studio, and we're gonna be able to see our new tables. See here, this is our Prisma studio, and we have new tables here: user, verification, session, and account. Very nice. Now our next step is to set up authentication methods. Configure the authentication methods that you want to use. In our case, we want to allow the users to use their Google account to log in to our application. Here, they are giving you example using GitHub, but we're gonna use Google. So, I'm gonna open another tab and then go to the Better Auth documentation again. And here, I want to search for Google. Yeah, this one. Choose this result, Google Provider Setup and Usage. And to use Google as a social provider, you're gonna need to get your Google credentials. You can get them by creating a new project in the Google Cloud Console. And in the Google Cloud Console credentials authorized redirect URLs, add that URL. And those are the steps in details. Open Google Cloud Console, go to APIs and Services, then Credentials, then create credentials, then OAuth client ID, then choose Web Application, then add those redirect URLs, and then copy the client ID and client secret into your environment variables. And then simply add this code to the auth.ts file. And then this is how you can use it from your application. Like for example, inside this file, you can create a sign-in method or a sign-in function, and then say data or const data equals to await auth client, which is this instance, which is equal to create auth client, and that create auth client is coming from Better Auth client package. So as you were saying, we're gonna say await auth client.signin.social and then provide the provider equals to Google. So let's implement that step by step. We're gonna go to the Google Cloud Console, click here or simply search on the Google search for Google Cloud, and then here select a project. And by the way, if you open the Google Cloud from the Google search, like here, if I search for Google Cloud and open the Google Cloud from here, you're gonna have to click on console first, okay? And this will take you to this exact page. And from here, I'm gonna click on new project and let's name it Stock Hub course. No organization, click on create. There we go. Now it's created. And then here, let's go back here. It's telling you that after that, go to APIs and services. So I'm gonna go to, actually we are in the API and services page right now. Then we're gonna need to go to credentials, right? Yeah, go to credentials. And then click on create credentials and then OAuth client ID. So here you're gonna find the create credentials button, click on it, and then choose OAuth client ID. And then here it's telling you to choose web application. So here in the application type, we're gonna click on it and choose web application. Let's name it anything. Let's name it Stock Hub Client. And then go here and add an authorized redirect URI. So we're gonna click on add URI, and here it's telling you to add that URI or that URL, which is localhost /API /auth/callback/Google. And we're gonna add another one for our domain name when we deploy our application for production. Okay, so right now just add this one. There we go. Now click on create. And then we're gonna need to copy the client ID and client secret and save them inside our .env file inside those environment variables, Google client ID and Google client secret. So let me copy those variable names first, and let's go back here, go to the .env file, and let's also copy that and paste it here, and let's add them to the .env.example file. And now let's add their values here inside the .env file. So I'm gonna go back here and then copy the client ID from here, from the Google Cloud project, and paste it here. And then let's copy the client secret and paste it here. Now click save, and let's go back here and click on OK. And let's provide some information. App name, let's name it Stock Hub. Then type your email here. Click on next, and then for the audience, choose external. Then click on next. Contact information, I'm gonna also provide my email. Then click on next. Then click I agree here, continue, and then click on create. Then let's go to audience again. And here in the publishing status, I want to publish my app. Because if you don't do so, it's not gonna work in production later when we deploy our application, okay? So I'm gonna click on publish app and then confirm. As you can see here, publish to production. And that's it. We are done here. Now let's go back to the Better Auth documentation and let's add that line of code, social providers, to our auth.ts file. So let's search here for auth.ts file, yeah. And here right below email and password, I'm gonna paste the social providers. There we go. Now click save. And now let's close this and this as well. Let's go back here to the Better Auth documentation. And let's go to step number 7, which is mount handler. To handle API requests, you need to set up a route handler on your server. So create a new file or route in your framework's designated catch or route handler, and this route should handle requests for the path API auth. So here they are giving you an example for the Next.js app router, which is the one that we're using. So let's create that route. I'm gonna go back to my project, and inside the app directory, I'm gonna create another directory named API. And then inside of it, I'm gonna create another directory named auth. And then create a catch or route directory like that by writing square brackets, then 3 dots, and then you can type anything. We're gonna write all in that case. So here we're gonna create a new folder with that name, and then inside of it we're gonna create the endpoint file, which is route.ts. This is by default in Next.js an endpoint file. They are named route.ts, okay? And let's simply copy that code and just paste it here. And then the final step is to create a client instance, which is the client-side library that helps you interact with the Auth server. Better Auth comes with a client for all popular web frameworks, including vanilla JavaScript. So inside the lib folder, we're gonna create a file with that name, auth-client.ts. So let's go here to the lib folder and create a new file named auth-client.ts. And then let's copy that code and paste it here. And here, that base URL is optional if you are using the same domain, meaning that if you are using the same domain for the client side and the server side, you don't have to provide that option, which in our case, we have the same domain for the client side and the server side, so we don't have to provide that option. And here, simply we're gonna export these functions in order to be able to import them in other modules, in other files, and use them, which are the sign in, sign up, and use session functions. So I'm gonna copy that code and simply paste it here. And now there is one more thing that we're gonna need to do. Since we are using Better Auth with Next.js, we're gonna do some integration configurations for Next.js. So let's go to integrations, then choose Next, and then scroll down here until you find that section, server action cookies. They are telling you that when you call a function that needs to set cookies like sign in email or sign up email inside the server action, and if you're not familiar with server actions just yet, don't worry, I'm gonna explain it in detail later in this course. In that case, cookies won't be set. If you call these functions inside server actions, cookies won't be set. And this is because server actions need to use the cookies helper from Next.js to set cookies. So to simplify this, you can use the Next Cookies plugin, which will automatically set cookies for you whenever a set cookie header is present in the response. So all we're gonna need to do is to simply add that plugin's property to that Better Auth object, or the object given to the Better Auth as a parameter. So we're gonna add that plugins and add that next cookies, and make sure this is the last plugin in the array. Okay, that array. Make sure that the next cookies is the last plugin. I'm gonna copy that. And let's go back to our project and then go to the auth.ts file inside the lib and simply add that here. And then we're gonna need to import the next cookies, which is imported from Better Auth Next.js. So I'm gonna copy that. And then I'm gonna go here at the top and paste it here. There we go. Now when you call functions that set cookies, they will be automatically set. Very nice. And then we're gonna need to do authentication protection. We're gonna need to create a middleware file, or let's say a proxy file, because Next.js 16 replaces the middleware file with a proxy file. So we're gonna need to create a proxy.ts file, which is the middleware file in Next.js 16 and higher versions. And then here simply we want to protect some routes, meaning that if a user wants to access the dashboard route, they have to be authenticated first, right? They have to have an account. They can't just access a dashboard without having an account. So here we're gonna make a check. We're gonna get the session from the auth inside the auth file. We're gonna say auth.api.get session, and if no session, we're gonna redirect the user to the sign in page, because if no session, this means that that user is not authenticated. They don't have an account just yet. So in that case, we're gonna redirect the user to the sign in page in order to allow them to create an account first, and then they can access their dashboard. So basically here you add all of your protected routes, or the routes that you want to protect, and here you add the redirect URL that you want the user to be redirected to if they don't have an account. So I'm gonna copy that, and then I'm gonna go to my project and create in the root directory a new file and name it proxy.ts, and then paste that code here. And here we also want to protect the favorites route and the single stock route. So we're gonna add also the favorites route and the single stock route. We're gonna say here /stock /colon and then the symbol of the company. We're providing a colon here because we're gonna take the symbol dynamically. And then a star here to indicate that we're protecting anything comes after that route. Anything that starts with that route and anything that comes after that route. Okay? And that's it. And now I think we are completely done here. Now we are ready to use Better Auth in our application. We're gonna click here to go to the basic usage page, and this is a documentation on how to use Better Auth to actually sign in, sign up, or log out our users inside our application. But for this functionality, we're not gonna do it by hand. We're actually gonna prompt Claude Code to do it for us. But we're gonna leave that documentation page open because we're gonna use it to provide code examples to Claude Code, okay? Now let's go back here to the Prisma documentation. Here they are exporting sign in, sign up, sign out, and use session. I don't think we exported sign out, so let's copy that and let's also add it here. There we go. And as you can see here, they are giving you examples to set up your pages like sign up, sign in, and dashboard. As I told you, we're gonna prompt Claude to do that for us. Let's see if we need anything else from here. Yeah, actually, I think we're done. There is only one more thing that I need to do. I'm gonna go to the package.json file, and here in the scripts section, I'm gonna add a script because later in production, I want to also generate the Prisma client after we run that script, which is next build. After we create our build, our production build, we want to run that script, which is, first of all, I'm gonna say post install, meaning after you install the packages, after you build the production build, run that command, which is Prisma generate. And this will generate the Prisma client after installation in production, okay? We did it manually in development, and right now we have the Prisma client inside our project, but of course, when we deploy our application to Vercel later in the course, we also want to generate the Prisma client, right? In order for our application to work properly. So we're gonna need to add that script to the package.json file. Now let me save the changes. And that's it. We have set up everything for our database and authentication logic. And our next step is to read and execute the prompt for our database schema. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna open the database schema prompt. I'm going to right click, then open preview, and then let's read the prompt. Database schema. We're gonna tell Claude that the authentication tables, which are user, session, account, and verification, are already in the schema file. Better Auth generated those, so leave them exactly as they are. I only need you to add the table described below directly into the existing schema file. So I need that output. Add a favorite table to the Prisma schema. We want to create a table or a model for the favorite in order to allow users to add their favorite stocks. This table stores the stocks a user has saved to their favorites list. Each row needs to track which user saved it, the stock's ticker symbol, the company name, and when it was added. A user should never be able to save the same ticker more than once. So the combination of a user and a ticker must be unique. Add a database index on the user field so queries by user are fast. If a user is deleted, all their favorites should be deleted automatically. For the constraints, write this directly into the existing Prisma schema file and do not create a new file. The user model is already defined in the schema by Better Auth. Just add the relation back to favorite on it. Do not redefine or modify the user model in any other way. Do not add any fields, tables, or relations beyond what is described above. And that's it. So let me actually go back to Claude Code here and tell it read and execute prompt number 2, which is the schema prompt. Press enter. Now it's reading that prompt file, and then it's checking the existing schema file, and then it wants to make that change. It will add that favorites relation to the user model, so I'm gonna accept it. And then it's gonna create the favorite model. Each favorite should have an ID, a user ID, a user, which is a relation to the user table, and that relation is one-to-many, meaning that a user can have many favorites, but one favorite should only belong to one user. And this is why we're gonna have a one-to-many relation with the user model, and we're gonna reference the user model by user ID inside that favorite model. And then we're gonna have a ticker of type string, a company name of type string, and a created at of type date time to track when that favorite was created. And then we're gonna say at unique user ID ticker in order to allow the user to add a stock to favorites only once, okay? We're gonna allow the user to remove a stock from favorites and then they can add it again to their favorites, but they can't add a stock to their favorites twice. You get the idea? And then this is the index for faster queries. And now, since we've updated our schema, we're gonna need to add a migration command for our new migration. We're gonna say npx prisma migrate div -- name add favorite table. I'm gonna press enter. And now our database is in sync with our schema. If I go back to my Prisma Studio and reload it, we can see the favorite table has been created. And now, let's go ahead and read the authentication prompt. I'm gonna open preview. We're gonna tell Claude, I need you to build the full authentication flow for this application. And this covers the server-side auth configuration, the client-side auth helper, the page layouts, and both the sign in and sign up forms. Go ahead and implement everything described below. And we already did that, by the way. We did the server-side auth configuration and the client-side auth helper. So we're gonna start with the page layouts. Okay, for the output, we're gonna tell Claude to create a page layout. The auth layout wraps both the sign in and sign up pages. It sits up in that path. So we're gonna create a route group for authentication like that, and a layout.tsx file for the page layout or for the route layout. It should be a server component that checks whether a session already exists or not. If the user is already logged in, redirect them straight to dashboard. Of course, if a user is going right away to the sign in or sign up page and that user is already logged in, already authenticated, we're gonna need to redirect them to the dashboard page. And the layout splits the screen in half. And we're gonna render a left side and a right side. On the left side, which is gonna be hidden on mobile and visible only from large screens up, we're gonna render a branding panel component. See here, we want to render something like that, a branding like that. And this side has a slightly darker off-white background, which is this color. And on the right side, we're gonna center the form content both vertically and horizontally, exactly like that. And this side has a slightly lighter off-white background, which is this color. And for the branding panel, this is going to be a client component. We're gonna put it inside a components folder like that. It fills the entire left of the auth layout. As we said, it's this section. We're gonna render the logo and a slogan here, and then we're gonna get some widgets from TradingView. It has two sections, a sticky top area and a scrollable content area below. At the very top, spanning the full width, embed a TradingView ticker tape widget. See here, that widget. This is called a ticker tape, and we're gonna get that also from TradingView. And actually, while we're here, let's explore TradingView. Go to Google and search for TradingView widgets, like that. Then choose this option. This is the TradingView widget website, and then click on more or just hover on it, and then go to that section for business and then choose documentation. And then click on get started, and that's the TradingView documentation. You can get all kind of financial charts from here. Like for example, if I search here for ticker tape, yeah, this one. See here, this is the ticker tape that I'm talking about. And this is how you can get the code for it. Let's say, for example, we want a market overview. Yeah, this one. This is, as you can see, a market overview widget. And this is the code for it. This is HTML code, and this is React code. So all we're gonna need to do is to copy and paste that code inside our project whenever we wanna use that widget. And of course, that website has a lot of widgets, so feel free to explore it on your own. Okay, let's go back here to our prompt. We're gonna say embed a TradingView ticker tape widget, and it should show S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, and Dow Jones, Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, and Bitcoin. Use light theme, transparent background, and adaptive display mode. And then below the ticker tape, display a slogan block, a market overview widget, and a heat map widget. And then wrap the entire component in a memo function, a React memo function, to prevent unnecessary re-renders. And then we're gonna move on to creating our forms, our sign-in form and sign-up form. And always take it as a rule. Whenever you create a form, a client-side form, you have to create validation schemas for those forms. And we're gonna use Zod for the validation schemas. And if you're not familiar with Zod, let me show it to you. Just go to the website zod.dev. As you can see, it's a TypeScript first schema validation with static type inference. So let's take a look at the basic usage. You import everything as Z from Zod, and then let's say you want to create a validation schema for a player. You're gonna say const player equals to z.object, and that object or that player will contain a username, and that username should be a string. So we're gonna specify that by saying z.string and an XP. I'm not sure what XP is, but that XP should be a number. So we're gonna say it's equal to a z.number. And so on. This is basically how you can create validation schemas. Also feel free to explore that documentation, that Zod documentation. And you can ask AI here for help for anything you want to know about Zod. This is a very nice feature. So let's go back here to our prompt. We're gonna tell Claude to create a validation schemas. Create a file named index.ts inside a validations folder inside the auth route group. And that file defines and exports two Zod schemas and their inferred TypeScript types. The sign-in schema has two fields, email and password, and the sign-up schema has three fields, name, email, and password. And each rule should have a clear human-readable error message. Very nice. And then go ahead and create the sign-in form. Create it inside components inside the auth route group as signinform.tsx, and then use React hook form with the Zod resolver. Let's also take a look at the React hook form. And actually, ShadCN has a documentation for the React hook form. So let's also explore the ShadCN UI documentation. If you're not familiar with ShadCN, it's a set of beautifully designed components that you can customize, extend, and build on. So go to the website. I'm gonna leave the link for it in the description of this video. Then go to docs, and then let's search for React hook form. This is the React hook form documentation. If you want to create some form like that, you write this code. You create a client component by saying use client. Then you import Zod resolver from add hook form resolvers Zod. And then you import use form and controller from React hook form. And of course, we import a bunch of stuff depending on your use case. And here you create a form schema like that. As I told you, you create it using Zod. Like for example, here they are creating a form schema, and that form has a title, and that title should be a string, minimum of 5 characters and maximum of 32 characters. And here we are displaying that message in case the user did input less than 5 characters. And of course, we provide that message in case the user did input more than 32 characters. And we also want a description, which is gonna be a string, minimum of 20 characters and maximum of 100 characters. And then you create a form like that using the use form that you import from React hook form. And then you create an onSubmit function, and then you return UI elements. You can return anything you want, but for the form, you render a form element that gets an ID and an onSubmit prop, which is gonna be equals to form.handleSubmit, and then you provide the onSubmit function that you defined earlier. Here, this function, you provide this function to the handleSubmit function. And that's it. This is how you create the form. Of course, we're gonna give that page, that documentation page, to Claude Code as a reference when it's building the form for us. So you just have to read the documentation, understand it, have an overview, but you don't need to understand the code deeply. And this is actually one of the benefits of using AI. You don't have to dive deep into any code or any framework you're using. And actually, while we are here, let's install ShadCN. We're gonna need a lot of ShadCN components inside our project. So let's install it. Go to installation, then npm, and then let's copy that command, npx shadcn at latest init. Or actually, they have framework documentations. So let's see the Next.js documentation since we are using Next.js as a full stack framework. And let's copy that code. And let's go back here, open the terminal, and paste that command here. And here we should provide something. I think we should provide some theme or anything like that. So I'm gonna say Nova and click enter. Now it's installing ShadCN, installing dependencies. And now ShadCN has been added and we can start adding components. Okay, now let's see how can we add ShadCN components. Let's see that I want to use a card component. Let's search for the card component. This is the card component. Let's say that you want to use that component inside your application. Simply you install it using that command and then copy and paste or let's say customize that code in order to fit your needs, and you are good to go. Of course, also whenever we want to use anything like that, we're just gonna ask Claude to do it and then give it some code examples, and this way we make sure that we get a clean code without any mistakes. Now let's go back to our prompt. We were saying that we want Claude to create a sign-in form for us. We want a form like that, see, that sign-in form. And by the way, we want everything to be responsive. Like for example, if I minimize the size of the browser, see, the left side has been disappeared and we can see only the sign-in form. But maybe we're gonna need to add the logo here at the top in that case. Okay, let's continue reading here. We're gonna tell it to use React hook form with the Zod resolver to manage the form. And I'm gonna provide examples for you from the React hook form official documentation. Follow those patterns exactly for how fields are registered and validated. Very nice. Now we guarantee perfect results. The form is centered in the right panel, constrained to a max width of that size, and has generous vertical spacing between its sections. At the top, a heading saying sign in and a subheading saying welcome back, enter your credentials to continue in a muted sync. Also like that. And the form has two fields, email and password, and if the server returns an error, like wrong credentials, display it as a small destructive red message between the last field and the submit button. And then at the very bottom, display a small centered line saying don't have an account with the link to the sign up page. And always use ShadCN components wherever possible, like pattern, input, label, separator, and so on, and never use raw HTML equivalents. Let me show you, for example, the ShadCN button. This is a ShadCN button, a simple button like that. And this is the code for it. Let's see the input. This is ShadCN input, and this is its code. And as I told you, if you want to add it, just copy and paste that command. And then we want to create a sign up form similar to the sign in form, but we're gonna add a name at the top, a name input at the top. And then we want to create a home page, which is the landing page, which is identical to the sign in page. And it's gonna be a server component. And before rendering anything, check if the user already has a session, as we said before. If they do, redirect them straight to the dashboard route. And then start creating the auth pages inside the auth route group like that. And the sign in page just going to render the sign in form component. And of course, the sign up page is going to render the sign up form component. And of course, as usual, each route should have a loading and error files. And those are some constraints. Read them if you want. And that's it. So now let's go back to Claude. And I'm gonna tell it read and execute prompt number. What number was it? Yeah, 3. Okay. We're gonna tell it read and execute prompt number 3, which is the authentication prompt, and below some code examples for everything we asked for. And then here I'm gonna say React hook documentation examples. And then I'm gonna go back here to the Chat-Cyan page or the Chat-Cyan documentation, and then search again for React hook form. And then here I'm just gonna open that code and maybe also expand that code, and then copy everything from this page and simply paste it here for Claude. And then I want to provide also some code examples from BetterAuth on how to implement the sign in and sign up operations. So here I'm gonna say those are code examples for basic usage of BetterAuth. And then I'm gonna go to BetterAuth documentation, and then let's go to get started. Then let's go to basic usage and simply also copy everything and paste it here. And also we want to provide some code examples from TradingView. So I'm gonna say TradingView code examples from the official docs. And then let's go to the TradingView documentation. And we said that we want a market overview, right? So I'm gonna go to the market overview page, go to the React code, and then I'm going to copy everything and paste it here. And I think we also said that we want ticker tape, yeah? So let's search for ticker tape, this one, copy everything, paste it here. And we also said that we want a heat map or something like that. I don't remember. Let's search for heat map here. Yeah, a heat map widget. Okay. So here I'm gonna search for heat map. Yeah, this one. Stock heat map. Open the React code, then copy everything and paste it here. Okay, is there anything else? I don't think so. I think we provided everything Claude will need. And now you guarantee perfect results, or at least a result that's above 95% accurate. Okay? We didn't write some generic prompt. We did provide everything in details to the AI agent, and this is how you build things with AI. And this will not just save your time, it will also save your money. This way you save tokens, you save your credit, and that way your employer will like you so much. So right now let's just send that to Claude. Okay, now it will check if React hook form Zod and Zod resolvers are installed. They are not installed, so I'm just gonna allow it to check for them. And I expect the next step is to actually install them. See here, it will install React hook form and the add hook form resolvers and Zod. So I'm just gonna allow that command. Yes, allow npm install for this project. And now Claude Code created a to-do list for itself. As you can see, it will create a lot of stuff. It will add those chat-cyan components first, and then it will create the use TradingView widget hook. Remember, we told it before that we want the TradingView code to be saved in a hook like that. And then it will create the validations file, then the auth layout, then auth components, sign in form, sign up form, and of course the branding panel here, and then sign in, sign up pages with loading and error files, and then the landing page in the app page.tsx file, and then add animate in to a globals.css file, and finally update the memory progress tracker. See here, no room for mistakes. Why? Because we did provide everything in detail. So I'm gonna say yes. First of all, it's adding the chat-cyan components. And by the way, you can find those chat-cyan components here inside components, UI, and those are the chat-cyan components, okay? And right now, Claude wants to create the use TradingView widget hook inside the hooks folder. It's gonna be a client component. It's gonna create an interface for the TradingView widget options. Then it's gonna create the use TradingView widget hook like that. And this is the script injection. So it looks fine. I'm gonna accept it. And then the Zod validations file, a validation schema for the sign in, named sign in schema, which is gonna have email and password. And I believe this should be just z.email, not z.string.email, but we're gonna fix that on our own. And this is the sign up schema, and those are the inferred types from them. We're gonna export both of them. So I'm gonna accept it. And now it's gonna create the auth layout inside the auth route group. First of all, it's gonna get the session, and if there is a session, we're gonna redirect the user to the dashboard page, because at this point, that means that the user has an account. And then it's gonna render the branding panel component on the left side, and then the other children. So I'm gonna accept it. And then this is the branding panel. This is the ticker tape component, which is gonna render the ticker tape from TradingView like that. We did provide code examples, don't forget that. And this is the market overview widget. This is the heat map widget. And this is the branding panel inner. Inside of it, we're gonna render a ticker tape, and then the slogan, and then a market overview widget and the heat map widget. So I'm gonna accept all of that. Now it's gonna create the sign in form, or actually both forms in parallel. This is the sign in form. This is the on submit function, and of course this is the form itself. It's gonna take its resolver from the sign in schema, and the sign in schema is coming from the validations file. And this is the form itself. First of all, we're gonna say sign in, welcome back, enter your credentials, and so on. And then we're gonna render the form, the React hook form, which is gonna have an input for the email and another one for the password, and then a submit button, and another button for signing in with Google. I believe this is the Google logo. It's creating an SVG element for it, and then displaying continue with Google inside that button. And finally, a sign up link, which is gonna link to the sign up page. Very nice. I'm gonna accept that. And this is the sign up form. It should be basically identical with just an extra name input at the top here. So I'm gonna accept it. And now the sign in page, which is gonna render the sign in form. And this is the loading skeleton. And this is the error file. And this is the sign up page. It's gonna render the sign up form, and then also the loading and error files for the sign up route. Now it wants to add a skeleton component from ChatCN. I'm gonna accept it. And now it's creating the landing page, which is gonna be identical to the sign in page. And then creating the animation, the animate fade in animation in the globals.css file. Now it's doing a quick type check to catch any issues using TypeScript. And finally update the memory progress tracker. Remember the memory file, project stockhub.md file, so I'm gonna accept it. This is the changes to that file, so accept it. And now the authentication feature is completely done. It's telling me that next up is prompt 4, which is the dashboard prompt. But of course, we have to see the authentication features with our eyes, right? So I'm gonna start the development server again. I'm gonna say npm run dev, press enter. And then let's open the development server using the browser. And this is our landing page. It looks very nice, by the way, but here we didn't add our logo. And actually I have designed a logo for you using Canva. I'm gonna save it here inside public assets. I'm gonna create a new folder here inside public and name it assets. And then I'm gonna place the logo inside of it. See here, this is the logo. And right now, if I reload the page, you can see the logo here. Very nice. Now let's check the sign in page. I'm gonna go to sign in. Okay, very nice. Everything looks nice. And this is the sign up page. Everything looks great. But actually, I want to ask for some changes. I want to make the left side double the size of the right side. So here I'm gonna tell Claude, make the left side 2x the size, or let's say just double the size of the right side. I'm not sure how it's gonna look, but let's see. Okay, it's gonna make that section, the branding panel section, it's gonna make its width on large devices equals to 2/3 instead of half the size of the page. Let's accept and see. Also the same here in the landing page. Now it's done. Okay, I think this is way better, right? Or what do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Now, maybe let's increase the size of the logo a bit. Here I'm gonna say make the logo a bit bigger. Okay, it's gonna increase its dimensions, width and height. Let's accept and see. Okay, this is much better. I like everything here. And now let's actually test the feature. I'm gonna try to log in with my Google account first. Click on continue with Google. Then I'm gonna log in using my Google account. And now I'm redirected to the dashboard page, which means that my account was created successfully. I was able to log in using my Google account, and right now I'm completely authenticated. And to be extra sure, I'm gonna open the Prisma Studio. I'm gonna say npx Prisma Studio, press enter. Let's go to the user table, and actually this is me here. My account was created and saved in the database. Very nice. But I noticed we have a problem here. Okay, this is some ESLint problem, so we're gonna fix it later, no worries. At the end of the project, I'm gonna ask Claude Code to fix all of the ESLint errors. And now let's try to sign up using email and password. So I'm gonna generate a temporary email. I'm gonna go to a website named temp mail. Just search for temp mail. Let's copy that mail and then let's paste it here. And let's name this account, I don't know anything, let's say Elon Musk. And then I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to generate a password for me. So I'm gonna say generate a password, and that's it. Okay, this is the password. I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it here and click on create account. And it looks like I'm also authenticated. If I go back here to the Prisma Studio and reload the user model, you can see that Elon Musk is created here. See here? Very nice. It seems like everything is working sharp. And right now I just want to keep that password. So keep that password. Don't delete it. Don't delete that chat. Because later when we implement the nav bar, we're gonna put a logout button inside of it. Then we're gonna test the logout feature. We can log out and then log back in using that email and password. So let me also save that email. So I'm just gonna say save that email here. Okay, it saved it for future conversations. Very nice. And now what I want to do is that I want to update that title. Instead of create next app, I want to type stock hub and add a favicon here. See that icon, that little icon here next to the title? This is called favicon. So I'm gonna go to a website named favicon.io. Yeah, this one, favicon.io. And then click here on PNG to ICO. Then I'm gonna upload my logo file here. Yeah, this one. And then it created the favicon for us here, so we can download it. Click on download. And then let's download it in the desktop. Then let's go to our desktop, open that folder. And then let's copy that favicon file, see, favicon.ico. This is the file we need. And then let's go to our project folder, go to app, and just paste it here. And that's it, very simple. Now, as you can see, the favicon is added here next to the title. And then we want to modify the metadata of the app, which is the title and description. So I'm gonna say to Claude, add stock hub as a title in the app layout metadata and add a meaningful description that will help SEO engines indexing our app. And between brackets, I'm gonna tell it that I just need a title and description, because sometimes it adds some extra metadata stuff, but I don't need that for now. I'm gonna press enter. There we go. It's modifying it inside the app layout file. Inside that metadata object, it's gonna remove that title and description and replace them with that title and that description. So I'm gonna accept it. And now it's done. And if I go back here, you can see the title has been changed to stock hub here. And as I told you, the favicon has been added next to it. And if you right click and inspect, then go to the head, meta, Scroll down until you find this one, description. See, this is the description that we just added. See here, this one. And that's it. We have completely implemented the authentication feature. And as I told you before, I'm gonna keep repeating this. We did get perfect results because we did provide every little detail to Claude Code, or basically any AI agent we are using. And that saved us a lot of time and tokens. If you track your usage, I'm gonna go to account and usage. See here, we only used 9%. We did implement a full feature, a full authentication flow, and we only consumed 9%. I see developers build like a very simple form and consume all of their usage for it, and maybe buy extra credit to just implement a simple form. And this is because they provide unclear prompts. They provide vague prompts. But in our case, we don't do that. We are developers who know what they're doing. So I hope that is clear now. And let's just move on to our next feature. Now, we're gonna talk about one of the most powerful features in modern Next.js, which are server actions. Server actions allow us to run server-side logic directly from our components in a very simple and natural way. So instead of creating separate API routes, handling endpoints, and manually connecting everything, we can write the server logic exactly where we need it and call it directly from our user interface. And this makes our code much cleaner, easier to understand, and easier to maintain. They're extremely important because they simplify how we handle things like creating posts, updating data, deleting records, and interacting with the database, all in a secure server-only environment. The client never sees the sensitive logic, which makes our applications safer by default. Server actions also improve the developer experience significantly. We write less boilerplate, we move faster, and the connection between the front end and the back end becomes seamless. Instead of thinking in terms of separate front end and back end layers, Next.js allows us to think in terms of features and functionality. You see, this is one of the key reasons why Next.js is such a powerful full-stack framework today. It gives us a clean, modern, and efficient way to build real production-ready applications. Now that we understand what server actions are in Next.js, we can finally start working on the dashboard page for StockHub. And this is where the project really starts coming to life, because we'll begin fetching and displaying real market data, building the user interface, and structuring the core experience of the application. So, let's jump into the dashboard prompt and start developing this important feature. We're gonna tell Claude that I need you to build the full dashboard feature for this application, and this covers the main layout that wraps all protected routes. All protected routes are the dashboard, the favorites, and the single stock route, okay? Also the navbar, the server actions and the backend logic, and everything on the dashboard page itself. Go ahead and implement everything described below. For the output, start with server actions and backend. You will need to create two server action files, and these are server-only functions and never call external APIs from the client. First of all, create a Finnhub actions file in this location in server actions, then finnhub.actions.ts, and then create a favorites actions file at the same location but with the name favorites.actions.ts. Okay, let's start by the Finnhub actions file. This file handles all communication with the Finnhub API. Okay, but what is Finnhub? Finnhub is a stock API. It provides you with real-time RESTful APIs and WebSockets for stocks, currencies, and crypto. Just head over to their website. I'm gonna leave the link for it in the description of this video. And here you can explore their documentation and click here to get your free API key. First of all, copy their API key, and then let's go back to our project, open the .env file, and then let's paste that API key here, and then let's store it in a variable named Finnhub API key. Let's save that, and also let me save that in the .env.example file for you. There we go. And of course, you have to create an account first, okay? Create an account on Finnhub, then generate an API key. It's very simple, okay? And here, this is the documentation. As you can see, it's a very big documentation. Feel free to explore it. They have a whole bunch of data about stocks, but actually we have everything we need here. So as we were saying, this file, the Finnhub Actions file, will handle all communication with the Finnhub API, and I will provide the API key as an environment variable called Finnhub API key. Read it from there and never hard code it. You will need functions for fetching a live quote for a single stock, and that live quote will include current price, daily change percent, open, previous close, high, and low. All of these are stock market related, let's say, concepts, okay? Read all about it if you want to learn more about the stock market. Then we're gonna need another function or another server action for fetching the three main market indices, which are S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, and Dow Jones DIA. Then another server action for fetching market news, another one for searching for stocks by name or ticker symbol. And then for the favorite actions file, this file handles reading and writing the user's saved stocks to the database. So we're gonna need a function to get the current user's favorite list and another function to add a stock to a favorites. It's gonna take a ticker and a company name, and then it's gonna add a stock to favorites. And another one or another server action to remove a stock from favorites. And of course, as we said before, after any add or remove, call a revalidate path on dashboard, favorites, and the stock single page in order to refresh those pages. And for the main layouts, create a layout file inside the main route group like that. It's gonna be a server component, and before rendering anything, we're gonna check if the user has an active session or not. If not, we're gonna redirect them to the sign in page. The overall background color for the entire app is this color. And then go ahead and create the navbar component. It's gonna be a client component. It should render on the left side a logo, and in the center of it, render the navigation links, and on the right side, render a user avatar and a user drop-down menu. And of course, we're gonna use drop-down menu from Chat.cn. And for the search overlay, when the user clicks search, a full screen dimmed overlay appears. It has a top bar with a search icon and a text input that auto focuses and an X button on the right to close it. And below that bar, as the user types, a scrollable list of results appears. Each result shows a small trending up icon, the stock symbol in bold, the company name below it in muted text, and an exchange badge on the right. Clicking on any of the results will navigate the user to the stock's single page, to that specific stock single page. And of course, if no results, we're gonna show that message, no results found. And then go ahead and create the dashboard page itself. Inside the dashboard route, of course inside the main route group, in the page.tsx file, it's a server component. It fetches all the data it needs on the server before rendering, and no client-side data fetching on this page. At the very top of the page, render the ticker tape, then a row of 3 market index cards for the S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, and Dow Jones. And below those indices, the page splits into a 2/3 and a 1/3 grid on extra large screens, and a single column on smaller screens. We're gonna have a left column, which is the 2/3. This will take the 2/3 of the page space, and a right column which will take 1/3 of the page space. On that left column, we'll render a favorites section, which will basically display all the users' favorites. And then, second, we'll display a discover section, which will show up to 8 popular stocks that the user hasn't already added to their favorites. And on the right column, we're gonna display a section for the market news. And then we're gonna need to create a component for the ticker tape that we're gonna render at the top, this one. And that ticker tape component will use the TradingView ticker tape widget, and it's gonna show all of these indices and stocks data, and then create the loading and error states. And those, of course, are the constraints. So right now, let's actually implement the dashboard feature. And by the way, Claude Code has a microphone here. You can record what you want instead of typing. So let's actually try this feature. I'm gonna click here and tell Claude, read and execute the dashboard prompt from the prompts folder. And that's it. I'm gonna send that. Now Claude wants to add those chat-cyan components. I'm gonna allow it. Okay, first of all, it's gonna create types file inside the lib folder. As we told it earlier in this course, remember? We told it to follow this pattern to create all types inside a types file inside the lib folder. So it looks like it's following my instructions really good. And inside of that file, it's gonna create an interface for the stock code. Each stock code will include a symbol, a price, a change percent, open, previous close, high, and low. Of course, the symbol is gonna be of type string, and all of these properties are going to be of type numbers. And then another type for the market index, which is gonna include a name, a symbol, and a code. And the code is gonna be of type stock code, that type. And by the way, don't get confused between TypeScript types and TypeScript interfaces. They are basically the same. Yeah, technically they are not the same, but in most cases, in most use cases, they are basically the same. Okay? They are different in very, very specific situations. So, use interfaces, use types, it doesn't really matter. So, let's continue. It's gonna also create an interface for news article, another one for search results, stock profile, and a favorite. So let's accept all of that. And then it's gonna create a constant file inside also the lib folder. And it's gonna create a const for the popular symbols. It's going to contain all of the popular symbols from the stock market, and another one for the market indices. So I'm gonna accept it. Next, it's gonna create the Finnhub server actions file, and after that, the favorites actions files, and so on. And here, it's gonna start with the Finnhub actions file, as we said, and you should know that in Next.js, whenever you create server actions file, you should start by typing use server at the top. And this will tell Next.js that this file should only run on the server. Okay? And inside this file, it's gonna create a Finnhub fetch function, which is gonna, of course, use the API key. So we have a function named API key, which is gonna return the Finnhub API key from our .env file by saying process.env.finnhub API key. So here it's gonna fetch anything from Finnhub and return the response. And this is a function to get stock code. It's gonna convert the symbol to uppercase, then fetch the data for any symbol, for any company, using that function, Finnhub fetch, and then return the results. And of course, catch errors like that. And this is a function to get market indices, and this is to get market news, and this is to search stocks, and this is to get popular stocks with codes. So I'm gonna accept that file, and this is the favorites actions file. It will get user favorites by getting the user ID, so it's gonna create a function to get user ID by getting the session, and if we have a session, we're gonna return the session.user.id. And here we're gonna get the user favorites from our database by saying await prisma.favorite.findMany, where user ID, and then sort them in descending order, and then return the results, those rows, as an array of favorite type. And of course, we're getting the favorite type from the types file that we created earlier. And don't forget that we're gonna import Prisma from @lib_prisma file that we created earlier. We said before that whenever we want to query our database, we're gonna import that Prisma instance. And here we want to query our database for the user's favorites, so we're gonna use that Prisma instance. And here this is a function to add favorites. We're gonna say await prisma.favorite.create and then provide the data, the user ID. Here we're getting the user ID by awaiting the getUserID function, and then here we're providing the ticker, the company name, and then as we asked, it's gonna revalidate the path for the dashboard, the favorites, and the single stock page. And this is a function to remove favorites, so I'm gonna accept all of that. And this is the main layout file. It's gonna render a navbar at the top, then the children, and of course, as we said, it's gonna get the user session, and if no session, redirect to the sign in page. So I'm gonna accept that file, and now it's gonna create the navbar component. This is the navbar component. It's gonna create it inside the main components folder. Of course, it's gonna be a client component because we're gonna use state, use effect, and so on. And whenever you use these hooks from React, you should use them inside a client component. So that navbar component will take a user instance as navbar props. And the navbar props will be a user, and each user should have a name, email, an image. And the image, of course, is optional, which means that it can be null. And that component is gonna return a header element, which is gonna render the logo on the left-hand side as a next link like that, which is gonna contain a next image displaying the application's logo. And of course, that link will link to the dashboard. Whenever the user clicks on that link, it will take them to the dashboard page. And then in the center, it will render the nav links. So it's gonna map on the nav links from here. Those are the nav links, dashboard, and favorites. It's gonna map on them and render a button for each one. And each button is gonna render a link, which is gonna link to the link.href, which in that case going to be a dashboard or favorites, depending on the type of the nav link. And then it's gonna render a search button. On click, it's gonna set search open to true. This means that we're gonna have a search open state here. Yeah, this one. And of course, it's gonna be initialized to false. And this is the user drop-down menu. We're gonna use a drop-down menu from ChatCN. And here we're gonna render a logout icon saying sign out. And actually on click, we're gonna call the handle sign out function, and this function should be defined here. Yeah, this function will call sign out from better auth, and on success it's gonna push the user to the sign in page. And this is the search overlay. It's gonna be rendered when the search open state is true. If this is true, we're gonna render all of this. And on click, it's gonna close the search. And this is the search bar. If the user is searching, we're gonna render all of that. And here we're gonna render the search input field. On change, we're gonna set the query to e.target.value and a close button. On clicking, or when clicking on that button, we're gonna close the search. But actually Claude forgot that it should use chat.cm buttons, not raw HTML buttons. But no worries, we're gonna fix that. And here we're gonna render the results, and of course we're gonna have a state for the results here. See here, and that state is gonna be an array of search results, and we're gonna initialize it to an empty array. And I believe we're gonna set those results here inside this function, which is the run search function. Here first we're gonna call the search stocks server action, and then we're gonna set the results with the response we get. And here of course we're gonna run the search whenever we have a query. And as we said before, we're gonna set the query whenever the user types something in the input. See here, on change, inside the search input, set query to e.target.value. So in that case, we're gonna have a query which is gonna change that state, the query state. And of course in React, whenever any state changes, the component is gonna re-render. And when the component re-renders, the use effects are going to run. And here inside that use effect, we're gonna run search with the query. So in that case, we're gonna run the search and get the results from the database. And that's it. This is the navbar component. So I'm gonna accept it. And now the ticker tape component. Actually, the ticker tape, it's gonna use the use TradingView widget and then get the ticker tape using that link from TradingView, that URL. And of course, it's gonna render all of these companies, all of these company symbols inside that ticker tape and then return it in a memo like that. So I'm gonna accept it. And then the market indices component, which is gonna basically render the indices names. It's gonna take indices, list of indices, and then map on them and render the index details like index name, code price, and so on. So I'm gonna accept it. And then this is the news feed component. It's gonna take some articles, then map on them, and then render the article headline. And if we have a ticker, an article ticker, we're gonna render it, then render the source and the time it was created. So I'm gonna accept it. And then it's gonna create the favorites section component. And this component will import the add favorite and remove favorite server actions from the favorite actions file. And what it's gonna do is that it's going to take the user favorites as its props, see here, and those favorites are going to be list of favorite with quote type. And this is the favorite with quote type. And here it's gonna display favorites, then the word manage. And then if we don't have favorites, it's gonna check if favorites.length is 0. It's gonna display no favorites yet. Otherwise, it's gonna map on the favorites and then render the favorite.ticker and then a link to that stock page if the user clicks on that stock. And here it's getting the change percent of the code by saying favorite.code.change%. And then it's gonna save whether that change percent is positive or not by typing this code. And if it's positive, here, it's gonna render a trending up icon. Otherwise, it's gonna render a trending down icon. And then here a button to remove the stock from the favorites by calling handle remove. And that's it. This is the component. This is the favorites section component. So I'm gonna accept it. And this is the discover section, which is gonna take some stocks. This should be the popular stocks from the stock market, then map on them and render them here. And here a button saying add to favorites. Whenever the user click on that button, it's gonna add that stock to the user's favorites. See here in the handle add function, it's calling add favorite from the favorites server actions here. So I'm gonna accept that component and now create the dashboard page loading and error files. This is the dashboard page. It's gonna render ticker tape at the top, then market indices, then favorites section, discover section, and news feed. So I'm gonna accept it. Then those are the loading and error files. So I'm gonna allow all here. I'm gonna edit automatically. And now it's running some type checks to catch any issues. Now it's updating the memory. So I'm gonna accept it. Okay, it's completed. The dashboard here, it's changing it from not started to completed. Okay, now it's done. It finished the dashboard feature. But before checking that feature, I'm gonna tell Claude, while I was reviewing the code that you were generating for the dashboard feature, I noticed that you created, or let's say you used, raw HTML buttons. But I told you before that never to use raw HTML buttons and use ChatCM buttons instead. Send it to Claude. Okay, it's telling me you are right. I broke the rules or that rule in several places. Let me find every instance. Okay, go ahead and do it. And actually here, I'm gonna say allow all edits. Now it's saving this as a feedback in the memory. So I'm gonna accept it. And now everything is done. So let's check out the dashboard feature. Alright then, this is the dashboard page. This is the nav bar. Okay, it looks good. This is the ticker tape for the indices and the stocks we asked for. This is the cards for the 3 indices that we asked for. This is the market news. This is the favorites section, no favorites yet, and this is the discover section. So let me actually add NVIDIA to favorites. It should call revalidate path and refresh the page. There we go. NVIDIA has been added to favorites here. Let's add Tesla. Okay, this is very nice. And now let me check the database studio. I'm gonna go to the favorite model. Yeah, we have 2 favorites here, NVIDIA and Tesla, and they are both belong to the same user here. Very nice. Now we want to fix the dimensions of that logo. I'm gonna tell Claude here, make the logo fit inside the nav bar. Okay, here it's adding a style to the image. Here actually I'm gonna reject that and say just add a width and a height to the image of the logo. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna accept it and see. Okay, it's still too big. So let's actually do it manually. I'm gonna go to the nav bar and here for the logo, I'm gonna make the width equal to, let's say, 60. And also let's make the height 40. Now let's see. Okay, now I think it looks fine. Okay, what else do we need to test? Let's test the search feature. Okay. When I click search, I get some famous stocks. And let's actually search for NVIDIA. Yeah, this is NVIDIA Corporation. If I click on it, it should take me to the single stock page, but we didn't create that feature just yet. Okay. Let's search for Google. Okay. Okay, it seems like everything is working. And actually, I like that interface a lot, the search interface. So, okay, what else do we need to check? Those are the news. If you click on any of these news, it's gonna take you to the news source, like this is coming from Yahoo Finance. And those are real news, by the way. See here, some news for Tesla, this is some news for Nvidia, and so on. Like here, this is about Elon Musk. See here. So, okay, everything looks nice. Now let's see the drop-down menu. If I click here, this is my name and this is my email. If I click on sign out, it should log me out, which is working just fine. Very nice. Now let's log back in. Okay, very good. Let me just test something. Right now, if I'm logged out, if I want to go to the dashboard, it did redirect me to the sign in page, and this is correct. So everything is working sharp so far. And now I want to test another thing. Remember the old account that I created before, the Elon Musk account? I saved its credentials here in ChatGPT. I'm gonna copy that mail. What I wanna test here is that I wanna log back in using that account credentials and check if I'm gonna be logged in successfully. So that was the password. Let me copy it and just paste it here and then click on sign in, and it did sign me in. And I'm thinking about giving you an exercise here. And I want to give you the opportunity to think, to be creative. So this is going to be your exercise. I want you to add a feature here to allow the user to be able to change their profile photo, to add a profile photo here and the ability to change it. And I'm gonna give you a hint. You're gonna need to integrate some service like upload thing in order to be able to upload photos, to upload thing, and then save them inside your database, and then retrieve them here, and then display the profile photo in that drop-down menu. So go ahead, solve that exercise, get creative, talk with your AI agent, whether you're using Claude Code or any other AI agent, and tell me in the comments what did you do in that exercise. And right now we have completely finished the dashboard feature, so let's go ahead and implement the next feature. Now that the dashboard is working, it's time to build one of the core features of StockHub, which is the favorites system. And this will allow users to save stocks they're interested in, quickly access them later, and personalize their dashboard experience. So let's start by reading the favorites prompt. We'll tell Claude that I need you to build the full favorites feature for this application, and this covers the page, the ticker tape, the search, and management component, and all of the back-end logic it needs. For the output, we're gonna need some favorite actions, and I think we already created all of these: a function to get the current user's saved favorites, a function to add a stock to favorites, and a function to remove a stock from favorites. I think we already did all of that. And then also we're gonna need some Finnhub actions, and I think also we already did that. And then create the favorites page. First, it loads the user's saved favorites. Then in parallel, it fetches news for all their tickers. Okay, here we are getting everything, all the data that we're gonna mention here, only related to the user's saved favorites, okay? Not all stocks or not general stocks, only for the user's saved favorites, okay? Keep that in mind. As we were saying, we want the news for all the favorite stickers, analyst recommendations for each ticker, and the stock profile for each ticker to get the exchange name needed for the ticker tape. And if the user has no favorites, the news and recommendations fetches are skipped entirely. And at the very top of the page, render the ticker tape, but only if the user has at least one favorite with a known exchange. And below that ticker tape, the page has standard padding and a vertical stack. At the top of the padded area, display a page heading saying favorites in large semi-bold text, and directly below it, a small muted subheading saying search for stocks and add them to your favorites. And below the heading, render the favorites manager component, which is described below. If the user has at least one favorite, show a horizontal separator, then 2/3 and a 1/3 grid, the left side, which is 2/3 the display area, a news section titled News for your favorites, showing articles fetched specifically for the user's saved tickers, and a right side, which is 1/3, it's gonna render a section titled Analyst Recommendations, which is gonna show or display one recommendation card per favorite that has recommendation data available. And then we're gonna create a component for the favorites ticker tape. We already have a ticker tape component, but that was a general ticker tape component. Now we want to create a ticker tape component specifically for the user's favorites. So we're gonna create a dedicated component for that, and then a favorites manager component, which is gonna render search area and search results, and then a separator, and then a saved list, which will show the user's saved stocks. Then loading and error states, and those are the constraints. So I'm gonna go to Claude and tell it, read and execute the favorites prompt, and that's it. Okay, now it's telling me, good, I will update both action files and add new Finnhub functions in parallel. So here in the favorites actions, it's editing the add favorite action. Instead of saying prisma.favorite.create, it's gonna say prisma.favorite.upsert. This upsert method is short for update and insert. Basically, this will check for the item. If it doesn't exist, it's gonna create it for the first time. If it does exist, it's gonna just update it. So I'm gonna accept that. And now it will add get analyst recommendations and get stock profile to Finnhub actions and update the types file. So in the types file, it's gonna add a type for the analyst recommendation, another one for stock profile full. So accept it. And then here in the Finnhub actions file, it's importing those types. And then this is a function to get stock profile. It's gonna return everything about stock. And then this is a function to get analyst recommendation. It's fetching that URL from Finnhub, which is a stock recommendation, and then providing the symbol as a search query. And that symbol is gonna be equal to S, which is the symbol here. The symbol converted to uppercase. And then it's gonna return those recommendations. First, it's gonna get the latest recommendations from data of index 0, which is the actual returned data, and simply return all of its data if it's strong buy, hold, sell, or strong sell. So let's accept that. Now create the favorite ticker tape component. Okay, this component will get a ticker tape from trading widget, but only for those symbols. And those symbols are going to be for the favorite stocks of the user's favorite stocks. So let's say yes here. And this is the analyst recommendation component. It's gonna take some items and render a heading saying analyst recommendations, and then map on each item and render a card for each symbol with all of these data. So I'm gonna accept it. And this is the favorites manager component. It's gonna take initial favorites and render a search input, then search results if the user did search for something, and then the saved list. And of course here we're gonna have the ability to add item and remove items from favorites. So let's accept it. Now it's removing some unused imports, so let's say yes. Now it's gonna create the favorites page, and that favorites page will render at the top a favorites ticker tape if the ticker tape stocks.length is bigger than 0. And then here we're gonna say favorites, or render a heading saying favorites. Then we're gonna display that subheading saying search for stocks and add them to your favorites. And then a favorites manager. And then if show bottom section is true, of course here we are saying const show bottom section equals to favorites.length bigger than 0, meaning that we're gonna make this true if we have favorites, if the favorites.length is bigger than 0. In that case, if this is true, we're gonna render the actual bottom section, which will include newsfeed and analyst recommendations. So let's accept that. And then for the loading and error, I'm gonna say allow all edits and the memory as well. It's still asking me for updating the memory. Okay, I'm gonna say yes. And now it's saving in the memory that prompt number 5 has been completed, which is the full favorites feature built. Okay. And now it's telling me that it's gonna read prompt number 6, but I don't want that. I'm gonna stop here. And now let's test the favorites page. Okay. And I'm using the Elon Musk account here, so I have no favorites. And this is why there is no ticker tape here. This is just suggested search results. The left stocks are 0. So let's start add stocks to favorites. I'm gonna add Microsoft and Apple. And they are added here, and we get analyst recommendations. We get news for Microsoft and Apple. Of course, we are getting analyst recommendation and news only for my favorites stocks, my favorite stocks list. And this is ticker tape for Apple and Microsoft. Let's add Tesla and Google. Very nice. Everything has been added here and also here. Let's search here for anything. Let's say Udemy. This is the Udemy Corporation. Let's add it to favorites. We get news here for Udemy and analyst recommendation for Udemy here. And it should be added here in the ticker tape. Yeah, this is Udemy. So this is very, very nice. Now let's move on to our next feature, which is creating the single stock page. And now let's go ahead and read the prompt for the single stock page. For the single stock page, we're gonna tell Claude that we needed to build the single stock page for the application, and this is a dynamic route. It's gonna take a symbol or a company name dynamically and then render or shows everything about one specific stock. Price data, charts, technical analysis, company info, recommendations, and news. For the backend, This page relies on several Finnhub functions that should already exist from the dashboard and favorites feature. Do not duplicate them, of course. And then for the stock page, it's gonna be a server component. The symbol comes from the URL params, always uppercase it before using it anywhere, and then fetch the stock profile first, and then render a header area, which is gonna have a ghost dashboard back button that goes to the dashboard, and below that a row with the company logo if available in a small rounded square, and then the company name, then a secondary badge showing the ticker symbol. So basically some information for the company, and then on the right side the favorite toggle button. If the user wants to add that stock to their favorites lists, they only need to click on that toggle button, and then price cards, which will render the price label, the open label, the day range, and the market cap label, and only render those if the code is available, and then render the main content grid, a left column and a right column. On the left column, render the advanced stock chart widget and the technical analysis widget for that stock, a company info card, and the analyst recommendations card for that stock, and inside the right column, render a news section for that company. Then create a client component for the stock chart, which is gonna render the TradingView advanced chart or widget, and then a technical analysis widget component, which is also gonna render the TradingView technical analysis widget, and a favorite toggle component, which will allow the user to add that stock to their favorites, and then loading and error states, and of course, those are the constraints. So let's go back to Claude and tell it, read prompt number 6, which is the single stock page prompt, and execute it. First, it's gonna update the types. It's gonna add a type for the stock page profile, so accept it. Then it's gonna import it here in the Finnhub actions. And then it's gonna create this function, Finnhub fetch row. Okay, what's the difference between this function and this? Actually, I'm gonna copy this function and the Finnhub fetch function. And then I'm gonna stop Claude here and ask it, what are the differences between those two functions? Then send that to Claude. I pasted the two functions here, okay? Okay, it's telling me that the only difference is what happens on a non-OK responses. I need Finnhub fetch row specifically for the stock profile call because the prompt requires inspecting the 403 status code to throw a specific user-facing error saying this stock is not available on your current plan. Yeah, actually, here in the prompt, I wrote that if Finnhub returns a 403 for the stock profile, this happens when a certain stock is outside the free tier. I'm using an API key for a free tier, so I can't get all kind of stocks from the Finnhub API. So this is why I asked Claude to handle that situation. So fine, I'm gonna tell it, okay, I get it now. Continue what you were doing. Here it's suggesting that it will do the profile fetch in line inside get stock page profile to avoid the duplicate helper. So here, instead of creating another function named Finnhub fetch row, it will do, or it will handle the 403 situation here inside this function, the get stock page profile function. Okay. Okay, and here if the response.status is 403 through this error, the stock is not available on your current plan. Okay, and now it's gonna create also a get company news action. Okay, so I'm gonna accept all of that. And now it's gonna update the newsfeed component to accept a title prop, okay? And here it's adding it to the component itself, to the props that the component will receive. And now it wants to create a components directory inside the main stock symbol directory. So I'm gonna accept it. And this is a stock chart component, which will get the advanced chart from TradingView, okay? And this is the stock technical analysis. Also, it will get a technical analysis widget from TradingView. And this is the favorite toggle component. It will return a button that on click will call the toggle function, and this toggle function will call either the add favorites, the add stock to favorite, or remove favorite, depending on whether that stock is in the user's favorite list or not. So I'm gonna accept it. And now the single stock page. Export default function stock page. Inside that page, we will get stock code, get company news, get favorites, and get analyst recommendations. And then we're gonna render a header that displays a back to dashboard button. And then here, if we have a profile logo, we're gonna render it in an image like that. And then the company info. And on the right side, the favorite toggle. And then the price cards. And then the main grid, a left column displaying the stock chart and stock technical analysis, and a company info displaying the company info here. And on the right side, we're gonna display a news feed. So let's accept all of that. Now it's gonna create loading and error files and update memory progress tracker. So I'm just gonna say allow all edits here, yeah. And now the single stock page is completed. And here it's saying that it fixed a bug. And by the way, I did get a bug regarding Finnhub logo images were blocked by Next.js, but I didn't have the chance to record it on screen. But if you get a bug like that, if you get an error saying invalid source prop or image source prop or something like that, I actually did screenshot it. Let me show it to you. Yeah, this one. If you get an error like that, all you're gonna need to do is to tell Claude to add that domain name to the next config file. And it will add it to you, like here. If you search for next config file, it did add it here. See here, images, remote patterns, and it did add that host name to the next config images. Okay, so let me continue here. And now it's done. It's telling me to navigate to a single stock page. So let's actually do that. I'm gonna click here on any stock. Let's click on Google. Well, yeah, that looks very, very nice. See, this is the technical analysis widget from TradingView, and this is the advanced chart from TradingView. See, those are very, very useful stuff, really. I'm actually willing to use this application as an investor myself. I'm gonna use this application to track my favorite stocks. Let's go to dashboard again. Let's check any other stock. Let's say Amazon. Very nice. Those are news only for Amazon, and this chart is also only for Amazon. And this is technical analysis for Amazon, and this is analyst recommendation for Amazon. And I can add it to favorite from here. Very nice. If I go to favorites, Amazon should be added here. Yeah. and here as well in the ticker tape. And by the way, if you click on any stock here, it will take you to the TradingView page of that specific stock. See, I swear to God, we did implement a better user interface than TradingView, right? We have a better interface and a better user experience. Let me try to remove something from favorites. It's removed. Okay, very nice. Let's remove Microsoft. It's removed, and actually that star is not yellow anymore. So yeah, it seems like everything is working. We have a fully working and functional stock tracker application. There is one final thing that I need to do here. I want to check the problems panel here. And yeah, we have two ESLint errors, and they are very, very minor errors. So I'm just gonna copy both of them. And here I'm gonna tell Claude, fix those errors, or let's say ESLint errors. Let's paste these errors here. And I'm leaving it on the edit automatically mode because those are minor errors. Now both of the errors are fixed. Let's check the problems panel again, and we have no problems in the problems panel. Alright then, the last thing that we're gonna need to do is to actually deploy our application to the internet. So first of all, I'm going to push all the project, the finished project, to GitHub. Then we're gonna go and create an account on Vercel, then import that project from GitHub to Vercel, which means that we're gonna need to log into Vercel using our GitHub accounts. This will make the process much easier. So let's first add everything. I'm gonna say git add all, and then git commit message finishing stock hub project, and then finally we're gonna say git push to push the changes to GitHub. And then let's go to our GitHub repository page, and this is our final project. Of course, as I told you a million times before, you can find the link for that GitHub repository in the description of this video. Now let's actually deploy that application to the internet. I need you to go to Vercel, vercel.com, and then log into your account using your GitHub account, as I told you before. Click here on continue with GitHub. And then after you sign in, you're gonna be redirected to your dashboard. Click on add new project, choose project. And then, as I told you here, you can import any project you want from your GitHub account. Here I'm viewing my own account, Programming Fluency, and I'm gonna import the Stock Hub project. I'm gonna click on import. Now let's name it Stock Hub. And here the application preset Next.js, leave it as it is. And then let's add our environment variables. Let's open the .env file here. And let's actually copy everything from here and simply paste it here. Right now we have all of our environment variables. We're just gonna need to change that better auth URL from localhost to our production domain name after we deploy our app. So let's click on deploy. It's gonna take some time, just be patient. And now, congratulations, your application is deployed on the internet. So let's continue to dashboard. And this is actually our website. This is our domain name. Let's copy that. And let's go back to our environment variables. Don't forget to do that step in order for your deployed application to work properly. So let's go to better auth URL, edit it, add this here, and save. There we go. Now let's redeploy. Also, you have to redeploy, okay? Then view deployment. Now it's building that deployment. And now it's ready. So now let's actually test our deployed version of our application. This is the landing page. I'm gonna sign in with my Google account. Oh, it's telling me that access blocked because we didn't add our production domain name to the authorized URLs in our Google Cloud Console. So let's go to Google Cloud Console, open Google Cloud, go to Console, and then let's go to the dashboard of the project, the Stock Hub course project. And let's go to, I think, OAuth consent screen. Go to clients. And here, for some reason, the client doesn't exist. So let me recreate it. I'm gonna say web application. Then here in the authorized redirect URIs, we're gonna add this. And then let me remember what should I add as an authorized redirect. So I'm gonna go to Better Auth documentation, and search for Google. Then go to Google Provider Setup. Yeah, we should add the domain name followed by API auth callback Google. Okay, so add this, then create it. We're gonna get a new client ID. Let me copy that client ID. And then let's go back to Vercel, to our Stock Hub project. And let's edit the environment variables. Let's go to Google client ID. Let's edit it. So let's add this. And also let's copy the client secret and let's edit it here. Save. And then redeploy. View deployment. Now it's building again. Now it's ready. Let's go back to our application again. Continue with Google. And now I can sign in with my Google account. Continue. And now I'm signed in with my Google account and everything from my database is displayed here. All my favorites and everything. Let's try to search for anything. Microsoft. Yeah. This is the Microsoft page. What do you think about the application? Really? Tell me in the comments below what is your opinion. If you are an investor, would you use that app? Would you really like this application? Please tell me in the comments below. Now let's try to sign out and sign back in. Okay. Very nice. And now we are completely done here. I hope you enjoyed that course. And now I can tell you congratulations on making it to the end. Seriously, that wasn't easy. You just built a full-stack production-ready application, and that's something most developers never get to. Most importantly, you've learned one of the most valuable skills today: how to actually build real apps and work with AI the right way. Now, you have a solid project for your portfolio, something you can show up to potential employers, or even build and turn into something you can monetize. Be proud of this. You earned it. And please tell me in the comments below, what are the kind of projects you want to see me build in the future videos. See you later, have a great day, and bye-bye.